Chapter 349. Chapter 349. Encountering Wen Hong, however, Ning Yu would not be so foolish as to kill the goose that laid the golden eggs. Now that Sun Jiangwen was under his control, although he had lost half of his soul force, Sun Jiangwen was still a 7th-grade pill alchemist. With a 7th-grade pill alchemist by his side, Ning Yu would not need to personally deal with many matters in the future. Ning Yu, you actually controlled me. Climbing up from the ground with difficulty, Sun Jiangwen said coldly, I am the chief pill alchemist of the Pill Alchemist Hall. By controlling me, are you not afraid that the Alchemist Hall Master will harm you? To tell you the truth, in front of the Hall Master, you are not even worth a fart. However, before Sun Jiangwen could finish his sentence, he felt his body lighten as he flew into the air. Bang! Then, he fell heavily to the ground and fell flat on his face. Sun Jiangwen, you must understand your current identity. You are my slave. Ning Yu said coldly, if I want you to die at midnight, you will not live past midnight. So in front of me, don't mention your Alchemist Hall Master. Also, even if the Alchemist Hall Master comes, I can kill you before he makes a move. Then, Ning Yu's soul force surged, planning to teach Sun Jiangwen a lesson, to let him know what a slave was. The piercing pain from the depths of his soul caused Sun Jiangwen to roll on the ground. Sweat the size of beans appeared on his forehead. A minute later, Ning Yu stopped. With a flick of his wrist, Ning Yu put away the pill furnace in the stone room into his storage ring. Then he said, Sun Jiangwen, open the stone door. This time, Sun Jiangwen was obedient. He carefully stood up from the ground and walked to the stone door. Creak! With a flick of his wrist, the heavy stone door slowly opened. Chi-chi! After the stone door opened, the soul barrier outside was also broken. Let's go! Glancing at Sun Jiangwen, Ning Yu rose from the ground and directly flew out of the stone room. Looking at Ning Yu's back, Sun Jiangwen's face was filled with malice. However, for the sake of survival, Sun Jiangwen followed closely behind Ning Yu, leaving the stone chamber and the valley. The Red Devil did not leave with Ning Yu immediately. Instead, he went to the entrance of the valley and dealt with Niezhen, who was at the peak of the primal core stage, before chasing after Ning Yu with all his might. Niezhen knew who they were. Keeping them alive would only bring harm. Although Ning Yu didn't say it, the Red Fiend knew what to do. Ning Yu, where are we going? In the dense forest, Red Fiend transformed into his human form and advanced alongside Ning Yu. Hong Mo, you'd better restrain your aura to prevent others from discovering you. Ning Yu said solemnly, go to Ivory City and meet up with the Dark Emperor there. When he parted ways with the Dark Emperor, Ning Yu asked the Dark Emperor to wait for him in Ivory City. Now, he naturally had to go there. What about him? The Red Devil pointed to Sun Jiangwen behind him and said, he is from the Corpse Sect. There is no guarantee that someone from the Corpse Sect will recognize him. We might as well go all out and kill him. Let's think of another way. If he wanted to kill Sun Jiangwen, Ning Yu would have done it a long time ago. Why wait until now? In Ning Yu's heart, he was more inclined to make Sun Jiangwen his slave. However, as a peak 7th-grade alchemist of the Corpse Sect, his soul jade plate must be in the Corpse Sect. If the soul jade plate was not broken, the people of the Corpse Sect would know that he was not dead. Even if he used a disguise technique to change his appearance, there would be powerful cultivators who would find him based on his aura. Therefore, if he wanted to completely hide Sun Jiangwen's identity, he could only hide his aura and break the Corpse Sect's soul jade plate. Buzz, buzz. While Ning Yu was thinking about how to hide Sun Jiangwen's aura, the space above the valley surged and a crack appeared. Immediately, a figure appeared from the crack and steadily landed at the entrance of the valley. If Sun Jiangwen was here, he would definitely recognize that this cultivator was none other than the Corpse Sect's Alchemist Hall Master. Looking at Niezhen lying in a pool of blood, the Alchemist Hall Master's face was expressionless as he said, he should have been knocked out first, and then had his throat slit. Swoosh. Then, his figure flashed and he arrived at the stone room. The alchemist hall master frowned and said, "The soul barrier at the entrance was broken from the inside. Could Sun Jiangwen have betrayed us? So that's how it is." Suddenly, the alchemist hall master noticed the hole in the stone room. He took a deep breath and vaguely understood what happened. Next, the alchemist hall master took out a crystal ball from his pocket. On the crystal ball there were 2 or 3 light spots. One of them was a bit weak, but it had not disappeared. "His soul force is still there, but it is a bit weak," the alchemist hall master said in a deep voice. "He has been kidnapped." Crack crack. Thinking of this, the alchemist hall master couldn't help but clench his fist. Sun Jiangwen is a peak 7th grade alchemist. The only people in the Great Xia dynasty who have the ability to kidnap him and injure his soul force in such a short time are the old monsters of Danwu College and the imperial family. The alchemist hall master took a deep breath and revealed a solemn expression. With his strength, he was definitely not a match for the old monsters of Danwu College and the imperial family. If the corpse sect's plan to besiege Ivory City was discovered by Danwu College and the imperial family, the 5 hall masters would all be in danger. I must go back and discuss this with the other 4 hall masters. This matter must be considered carefully. The alchemist hall master's face was a bit gloomy. We must restrict the imperial family and the old monsters of Danwu College in the capital. Otherwise, the plan will definitely fail. Swoosh. With that, the alchemist hall master did not stay any longer. He forcibly tore open the space and rushed toward Ivory City. Ha ha, this is really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Ningyu didn't know about the alchemist hall master's shock. Even if he knew, he wouldn't have time to care. Because he was in trouble, big trouble. Just as he was thinking about how to hide Sun Jiangwen's aura, when Hong suddenly tore open the space and appeared in front of him. Ningyu die. 3 powerful devouring forces almost devoured 30% of Wen Hong's strength. In addition, Wen Hong had consumed 20% of his strength to save Wen Pai. Therefore, Wen Hong could only use 50% of his peak strength. In Wen Hong's view, even if he could only use 50% of his strength, killing Ningyu would be a piece of cake. Humph! Solitaire! With a cold snort, Ningyu rose from the ground and the red demon's sword appeared in his hand. The origin chi in his sea of knowledge was crazily injected into the red demon's sword. Ningyu slashed out a sword wave. Chi chi chi. The next moment, the sword wave rubbed against the air, producing a sizzling sound. Insignificant skill. Facing the powerful sword wave from Ningyu, Wen Hong didn't take it seriously. Instead, he waved his sleeve and threw out a cold light. What? What happened next was obviously beyond Wen Hong's expectation. Chapter 350. Rotating Palm. Ningyu, when did you become so powerful? Wen Hong did not dare to be careless. He quickly mobilized the Yuan Qi in his sea of consciousness and gathered it in his palm. Then, he struck out with his palm and collided with the sword wave in midair. Boom! Wen Hong only managed to disperse the sword wave from Ningyu in the second attack. No, there's something wrong with the flying sword in your hand. After dispersing the sword wave, Wen Hong's face turned cold. He stared at the red flying sword in Ningyu's hand and said, "The red flying sword in your hand was not so powerful when we were at Snow Pavilion. Who is this person beside you?" Wen Hong's face was ashen. He could feel a tremor in the depths of his soul from the martial artist beside Ningyu. A martial artist that could make his soul tremble had to be at least a 7th grade soul force. He had only been separated from Ningyu for a few hours, and Ningyu had become so powerful? No matter how he thought about it, Wen Hong felt that it was unrealistic. Ningyu, don't be too proud. With your early-stage true martial realm cultivation, even if you have the help of a 7th grade soul force warrior, you are still no match for me. Very soon, Wen Hong realized that Sun Jiangwen was only at the pinnacle of the primal core realm. He slightly relaxed and said coldly, "Early stage true martial realm cultivation?" The corners of his mouth curled up, and Ning Yu's aura instantly burst forth. "Wen Hong, you old fool, look closely at my cultivation," Ning Yu said. "Ha ha ha, I thought you were powerful. Turns out you are only at the middle stage of the true martial realm." Wen Hong could not help but laugh out loud. In his eyes, there was no difference between the middle stage and the early stage of the true martial realm. The middle stage of the true martial realm is enough to take your life. As he spoke, Ning Yu rose from the ground and quickly waved the red demon sword in his hand, sending out several sword waves in succession. These sword waves seemed to have eyes of their own as they uniformly rushed towards Wen Hong. Ning Yu had already advanced to the middle stage of the true martial realm when he was in the martial pool of Danwu College. However, he did not make it public, and had been suppressing his aura at the early stage of the true martial realm. Other than him, the Red Devil, and the Dark Emperor, no one knew that he had advanced to the middle stage of the true martial realm. Humph! If I lose to a martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm, you don't need to say anything, I will directly commit seppuku. Snorting coldly, Wen Hong gathered the essence in his sea of consciousness on his wrist and punched out. Unable to dodge, his fist collided with the sword wave that Ning Yu sent out. Boom! Wen Hong's punch was so powerful that it used up almost all the strength in his body. In an instant, it shattered Ning Yu's solitaire. Dark Tyrant Palm. At this moment, Ning Yu had already arrived beside Wen Hong. A berserk soul force appeared on his fist as he punched Wen Hong's chest. Bang! A crisp sound rang out in the area. After the blow, Ning Yu immediately retreated without the slightest hesitation, because he discovered that an extremely frightening energy was emitting from Wen Hong's body, unscrupulously suppressing him. "Ning Yu, to be able to force me to use this move, even if you die, you can be proud." Taking a deep breath, Wen Hong forced out a few drops of essence blood, which floated in front of him. He pointed out with his finger, and immediately, the essence blood in front of him started burning. Not long after, the few drops of essence blood were burnt to ashes. Boom! When the essence blood was burnt to ashes, the energy around Wen Hong increased again. At the same time, an extremely berserk shock wave swept out from Wen Hong's chest and directly rushed towards Ning Yu. A mixed shock wave of soul force and essence chi. Ning Yu's face was extremely gloomy. The phantom armor appeared on his body, and he quickly retreated. However, the phantom armor was only an extremely expensive low-grade magic treasure. Very soon, it was caught up by the mixed shock wave. Crack! Unsurprisingly, the mixed shock wave hit Ning Yu's heart. If it weren't for the phantom armor, Ning Yu would have been dead by now. Even so, Ning Yu felt a stinging pain in his heart. Moreover, a fatal crack had appeared on the phantom armor. This time, the crack on the phantom armor was even more terrifying than the previous time when it withstood the explosion of the dark gold spirit corpse and the spectral corpse. In other words, the phantom armor was on the verge of being scrapped. Unless a huge amount of resources were spent, it would be impossible to repair it to its peak. Mixed shock wave wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ning Yu flipped his wrist. In the next moment, he let out a low roar and pushed his palm out quickly. Rotating palm. As Ning Yu let out a low roar, a palm print quickly swept out and rushed towards Wen Hong. Rotating palm? Looking at the palm print that was approaching him, Wen Hong frowned slightly and was slightly surprised. From the palm print, he did not feel any terrifying aura, but only a trace of Yuan Qi. Was Ning Yu stupid? Did he think that this would be a threat to him? He was too naive. Swoosh. However, just when Wen Hong felt that it was a little unbelievable, Ning Yu's middle 5th grade soul power was released and chased after the first palm print. Seeing this, Wen Hong's heart shook and he gradually understood. So, the first palm print was just a cover. The real attack is a soul attack. Wenhong smiled, a look of confidence on his face. Wenhong's soul power was in the 6th grade, but Ning Yu's soul power was only in the middle 5th grade soul power. Therefore, Wenhong did not take Ning Yu's soul attack seriously. Swoosh! Ning Yu's soul power was extremely fast. When the first palm print was in front of Wenhong, his soul power had already caught up to the palm print. Explode! Seeing that his soul power had caught up to the palm print, Ning Yu let out a low roar. Rumble! As Ning Yu's voice fell, an earth-shattering roar sounded in the area. Following that, the palm print exploded. The aftermath of the explosion did not spread in all directions. Instead, it gathered together and attacked Wenhong. F***ck. The aftermath can recognize people? Wenhong could not help but swear. However, he did not take it to heart. Instead, he swung his hand and a cold gleam collided with the aftermath. This time, Wenhong had obviously underestimated the power of the aftermath. In just 0.1 seconds, the cold gleam that he sent out was dispersed by the aftermath. Subsequently, before he could react, the aftermath had already arrived in front of him and fiercely hit his head. The immense pain from his head caused Wenhong to retreat several feet before he could stabilize his body. Wenhong spat out a mouthful of blood and his face became extremely pale. Ning Yu, I admit that I underestimated you. Clenching his fists, Wenhong's face turned green and he said coldly, If you think that you can defeat me like this, I have to say that you're too naive. Next, I'll let you know the strength that a middle Yin-Yang realm martial artist should have. Is that so? Ning Yu raised his brows and said faintly, Press your forehead with your index finger. Hearing that, Wenhong's heart skipped a beat. However, he did not do as Ning Yu said. Instead, he carefully searched his body with his soul power. Chapter 351. Explosion. By the way, I forgot to tell you. In the aftermath of the explosion, there was a trace of his 7th grade soul power. Ning Yu pointed at Sun Jiangwen, then turned to Wenhong and said, I really want to know what kind of strength the Yin-Yang realm martial artist has. You. Poochie. Wenhong was so angry that his face turned ashen. He pointed at Ning Yu and wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, he spat out another mouthful of blood. As a Yin-Yang realm middle stage martial artist, he was fooled by Ning Yu, who was only at the true martial realm middle stage. If this news were to spread, how could he maintain his foothold in the capital? Wenhong, I'll give you a chance to live. At this moment, Ning Yu said, Open your mind and submit to me. I can spare your life. Pooh. Wenhong spat out a mouthful of saliva and coldly said, You want to control me with just a 7th grade soul force? Dream on. Shrugging, Ning Yu said, Since you want to die, don't blame me. Sun Jiangwen, you should know what to do. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Sun Jiangwen didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly communicated with Wenhong's 7th grade soul force and wantonly destroyed Wenhong's internal organs. Get out. How could Wenhong let Sun Jiangwen do as he pleased? He mobilized all of his soul force and Yuan Qi in an attempt to expel Sun Jiangwen's soul force. Ha, just one more minute and the 7th grade soul force in my body will be expelled. Let's see what you can do then. Wenhong laughed. Have you lost your mind? Ning Yu's expression was a little exaggerated as he smiled and said, If I'm not wrong, you can't do anything in this 1 minute, right? I can't do anything? Hearing this, Wenhong was stunned at first, and then his expression changed greatly. Ning Yu was right. In this 1 minute, he really couldn't do anything. This was because all of his soul force and Yuan Qi had been used to expel Sun Jiangwen's soul force of the 7th grade. At this moment, not even the slightest bit of soul force or Yuan Qi could be used. Now, even a Xiantian expert could easily kill him. Wenhong, you're too reckless. If you had only used your soul power, I wouldn't have been able to do anything to you. Shaking his head, Ning Yu said, After all, you're a middle-stage yin-yang realm martial artist, and you still have half of your battle prowess. I didn't expect you to use your yuan qi. You're courting death, don't blame me. Whoosh. In the next moment, the vital energy under Ning Yu's feet burned continuously. He held the red demon's sword horizontally in front of him and charged towards Wen Hong at an extremely terrifying speed. No. I'm willing to submit to you. Looking at the expanding red flying sword in his eyes, Wen Hong's expression finally changed, revealing a terrified expression. This was the first time he felt so close to death since he advanced to the yin-yang realm. Thinking of submitting to me now? It's too late. Controlling Sun Jiangwen was almost Ning Yu's limit. Controlling Wen Hong as well? He would definitely become a fool because of this. After all, his soul power was only at the middle stage of the 5th grade, while Sun Jiangwen's was at the peak of the 7th grade. Wen Hong's was slightly weaker, but he had also reached the 6th grade. Controlling two martial artists with a 5th grade soul power at the middle stage of the 5th grade, one with a 7th grade soul power and the other with a 6th grade soul power, even if Ning Yu's control over his soul power was very strong. Pooh! At this moment, the red demon's sword pierced into Wen Hong's body, almost piercing through his heart. Ning Yu, since you won't let me go, I won't let you have it easy either. A sinister smile appeared on Wen Hong's face as he stared at Ning Yu. At the same time, Wen Hong withdrew all his soul power and yuan qi, no longer expelling Sun Jiangwen's 7th grade soul power. Instead, he distributed them evenly throughout his body. What are you trying to do? Damn it! Retreat! Seeing Wen Hong's actions, Ning Yu initially did not know what he was trying to do. However, as Wen Hong's body continued to expand, Ning Yu finally knew what Wen Hong was trying to do. Self-destruct. Wen Hong wanted to self-destruct. The self-destruction of the half-step Yuan Core stage Dark Gold Spirit Corpse and Spectral Corpse had already caused cracks to appear on the phantom armor. One could imagine how powerful the self-destruction of Wen Hong, who was at the middle stage of the yin-yang realm, would be. There was only one thought in Ning Yu's mind. Escape as soon as possible. If he did not escape, there would only be one outcome, and that was death. Thinking of this, Ning Yu hurriedly said to the Red Demon, "Red Demon, Wen Hong wants to self-destruct. Let's leave quickly." Got it. The Red Demon was very sensitive to energy. The moment Wen Hong's body expanded, he reacted. "Master, you can't leave me here to die." Seeing that Ning Yu and the Red Demon were about to leave, Sun Jiangwen said loudly, "I am a 7th grade pinnacle alchemist. In the future, I can refine 7th grade elixirs for you unconditionally. As long as I have time, I will soon be promoted to an 8th grade alchemist. At that time, with an 8th grade alchemist refining elixirs for you, you can save a lot of cultivation time." Sun Jiangwen naturally noticed that Wen Hong wanted to self-destruct. Once a person had the desire to live, this desire would become stronger and stronger, and they might even do something out of line. Take Sun Jiangwen for example. When Ning Yu threatened him for the first time, he refused to submit no matter what. Now that he was facing death, he wanted to survive more than anyone else. Some things, if there was a first, there would be a second, a third, and an infinite number of times. Damn it! Cursing, Ning Yu suddenly grabbed Sun Jiangwen's arm and quickly fled the area. As they flew, Ning Yu scolded Sun Jiangwen, "Pinnacle Primal Core Cultivation, Pinnacle 7th Grade Soul Power. I didn't control your movements. Can't you King escape on your own?" Sun Jiangwen's face was sullen, and he looked very aggrieved. "I wanted to escape on my own, but I used too much energy to refine the body explosion elixir, and I haven't recovered my yuan qi yet. Moreover, half of my soul power was swallowed by your flying sword, and the other half was compressed by you in." Boom! Before Sun Jiangwen could finish his sentence, an earth-shattering rumble came from behind him. Accompanying this rumble was the sound of friction between the shock wave and the air. Oh no. Looking back at the shockwave that was flying towards him, Ning Yu's heart sank. The strength of the shockwave was beyond his expectations. Even an early-stage yin-yang realm martial artist would be severely injured by the shockwave of the explosion. What more a mid-stage true martial realm martial artist like him? That's right. If the Dark Emperor can enter the Summer Ring, I should be able to as well. Suddenly, Ningyu reached into his pocket and took out the Summer Ring that he had obtained from Elixir Dragon Valley. The Dark Emperor had said that the space within the Summer Ring was unstable. Since the Dark Emperor could enter the Summer Ring, as the owner of the Summer Ring, Ningyu could naturally enter it as well. With a thought, Ningyu threw the Summer Ring into the air, and it expanded several times. Whoosh! Chapter 352. Return to Ivory City. Swoosh. Ningyu felt his vision go black as he was enveloped by a huge beam of light, and then he lost consciousness. Bang! At this moment, the aftermath of Wen Hong's explosion had already arrived, and it collided with the storage ring. A crisp sound was heard, and then the storage ring fell backward like a kite with a broken string. Moreover, as it fell, the storage ring kept shrinking, and finally became the size of a fingernail as it fell heavily to the ground. At the same time, Ningyu, Hong Mo, and the others in the storage ring suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood, and their faces turned slightly pale. This is the space of the storage ring. Oh no! Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ningyu was about to say something, but his expression changed drastically. Crack, crack, crack. This was because he saw the space in front of him shake violently, and it was accompanied by cracking sounds. Space rupture. That was Ningyu's first impression, and it was also the situation that worried him the most. The Dark Emperor had said that the space in the storage ring was unstable, and once the unstable space was impacted by a powerful energy, it was very likely to dissipate. Now that the space in the storage ring was shaking, could it be that it was going to dissipate? Thinking of this, Ningyu did not dare to stay any longer, and he was about to leave this place. Ningyu, although this space was impacted by a powerful energy, it will not dissipate. Seeing that Ningyu was about to leave, Hong Mo said, in the past, the owner of the Red Demon Sword also had many storage rings with unstable spaces, but none of them were like this storage ring, which only shook a little after being impacted by such a powerful energy. If I'm not wrong, the material of your storage ring is quite special. It is indeed very special. Nodding his head, Sun Jiangwen said, the most important thing is that there is a very terrifying soul power fluctuation in this storage ring. Just now, it should have been that soul power that blocked the shock wave. Otherwise, this unstable space would have disappeared long ago. Terrifying wave of soul power? Hearing this, Ningyu was slightly stunned. Soon, Ningyu came to his senses. He had obtained this storage ring from the Pill Dragon Valley. To be more precise, it was the storage ring of the Medicine Sovereign. The Medicine Sovereign was an existence that surpassed a 10th grade pill refinement master, so it wasn't strange for him to leave a wisp of his soul power in his storage ring. I truly have to thank the Medicine Sovereign, thank all 8 generations of ancestors. Ningyu heaved a sigh of relief. If it wasn't for the Medicine Sovereign, he would have been blasted into a retard by Wen Hong's explosion. We can't stay here for long. Let's rest for 3 minutes. We'll set off after that. Although the space in the storage ring wouldn't dissipate, Ningyu still didn't want to stay here. Wen Hong was a mid-stage yin-yang realm martial artist. The aftermath of his explosion was extremely terrifying. It could be said to be extremely terrifying. Now, with this place as the center, it was likely that all the martial artists within a radius of several dozen miles would rush over to investigate. Of course, the cultivators who had the guts to rush over would not have low cultivation. Therefore, staying here was simply courting death. Buzz. The explosion was to the west, and space surged. Then, a warrior appeared. The Alchemist Temple Master. This warrior was Sun Jiangwen's immediate superior, the alchemist temple master who had just left the valley not long ago. Such a powerful explosion, could it be the self-destruction of a mid-stage yin-yang realm martial artist? The alchemist temple master frowned, feeling a little incredulous. Mid-stage yin-yang realm martial artists were very powerful. Unless they were forced to the edge of a cliff, they would not choose to self-destruct. To be able to force a mid-stage yin-yang realm martial artist to the edge of a cliff, the person's cultivation must be at least late-stage yin-yang realm, or even peak yin-yang realm. These are really trouble times. I don't know if the corpse insect's choice to attack Ivory City at this time is right or wrong. Forget it, I'd better hurry back and discuss with the other 4 temple masters as soon as possible to determine where the old monster from Donwu College and the imperial family is. Slowly shaking his head, the alchemist temple master tore the void and disappeared. East of the explosion, in a hidden herb garden, an old man put down the hoe in his hand and furrowed his brows. After a while, the old man picked up the hoe again and began to dig the soil. However, the old man's hands were clearly trembling. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the center of the explosion, Ningyu stayed in the storage ring for 3 minutes, then left the storage ring and rushed toward Ivory City. However, Ningyu left Hong Mo and Sun Jiangwen in the storage ring. Sun Jiangwen was from the corpse insect, and before he found a way to hide his aura, keeping him around was undoubtedly a time bomb. As for Hong Mo, it was better to save some strength so that he would at least be able to fight when there was an emergency. If only I could cultivate spatial spells, then I would be able to reach Ivory City in an hour at most. The reason why yin-yang realm martial artists were so fast was that they could tear the space and travel through it. For someone like the alchemist temple master, it would only take him an hour to reach the explosion site from Ivory City. Since the Dark Emperor had rushed to Ivory City a long time ago, not only did Ningyu not stop on the road, but he also increased his speed to the limit and even burned his primordial chi to hurry. Swoosh! Fortunately, Ningyu had 4 illusory golden cores. Otherwise, even if he arrived at Ivory City, his aura would be weak. However, even though Ningyu had 4 golden core projections, when he spent 2 days standing in front of the gate of Ivory City, he still felt exhausted. When he came to Ivory City again, Ningyu felt a sense of déjà vu. According to Ningyu's speculation, the Dark Emperor must have arrived at Ivory City and should be enjoying himself there. Therefore, Ningyu did not stay at the gate, but immediately rushed to Ivory City. Wait! However, just when Ningyu was about to enter Ivory City, Hong Mo said hurriedly. Hearing Hong Mo's words, Ningyu put down his right foot that had just lifted. What's going on? There is something wrong with the 2 martial artists at the gate of Ivory City, Hong Mo said. Something wrong. Ningyu was startled at first, and then he looked at the entrance of Ivory City. Hiss! What he saw shocked Ningyu a lot. There was something wrong with the 2 martial artists at the gate of Ivory City, and it was a big problem. Ningyu knew the one on the left, it was Mu Tuo. Ningyu had met Mu Tuo twice. The first time was in the black market of Mingwang City. At that time, he had exchanged a meridian repairing elixir from Mu Tuo. The second time was in the cave where Master Lung was killed. At that time, Mu Tuo had gone to Mingwang City to find someone, so he had escaped. As for the man on the right, he was a black-robed martial artist at the peak of the real martial realm. There is indeed something wrong with them, because they are both from the corpse insect. Ningyu was a little confused. Chapter 353. Corpse Sex Plan. There must be something fishy about Mu Tuo appearing in front of Ivory City at this critical time. After thinking about it, Ningyu sank his consciousness into the storage ring and began to communicate with Sun Jiangwen. Sun Jiangwen, do you know the martial artist in front of the gate? Sun Jiangwen was the chief alchemist of the Alchemist Hall, and Mu Tuo was a 5th-rank alchemist. Logically speaking, Sun Jiangwen should know Mu Tuo. Sure enough, after hearing Ningyu's words, Sun Jiangwen slightly released his perception and looked in the direction of Ivory City. After a while, Sun Jiangwen slowly withdrew his perception and said, "The martial artist on the left is called Mu Tuo, a 5th-rank mid-rank alchemist. His status in the Alchemist Hall is average. The black-robed martial artist on the right has a low cultivation level. I don't know him, but I know he is also from the corpse sect." "What is their purpose for coming here?" Ningyu asked in a deep voice. Sun Jiangwen shook his head and said, "I don't know." "That's right, there is a question I have always wanted to ask you." Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Why do you want to refine the body explosion pill?" This, if Ningyu was in the storage ring, he would definitely see that Sun Jiangwen was very conflicted. Even his brows were furrowed. In the corpse sect, refining the body explosion pill was a top secret, and only a few people knew about it. The most important thing was that once he told Ningyu the purpose of refining the body explosion pill, he would have no chance of returning to the corpse sect. Even if he could return, he would be immediately beheaded. This was because those who betrayed the corpse sect never had a good ending. "Sun Jiangwen, I will give you a chance now." Perhaps sensing Sun Jiangwen's inner conflict, Ningyu's eyes turned and he stretched out a finger and said, "1 year. If you tell me the entire plan of the corpse sect, I can swear to the heavens that I will release you after 1 year." "Is that true?" Sun Jiangwen's heart thumped when he heard this, and he hurriedly said. Originally, Sun Jiangwen didn't have any hope of escaping from Ningyu's clutches. Now that Ningyu gave him a promise, it rekindled his hope. "You must first swear a heavenly Tao oath." Although Ningyu's promise did not come easily, Sun Jiangwen did not let it get to his head. Instead, he remained very calm. "No problem." Ningyu was straightforward, and he directly forced out a drop of blood essence and swore a heavenly Tao oath. Seeing this, Sun Jiangwen let out a long breath. Once a vow to the heavenly Tao was made, if one did not fulfill it, one would suffer the bombardment of the 9 heavenly tribulations. With Ningyu's current strength, it would be impossible for him to withstand the 9-stage heavenly tribulation in another year. The 9-stage heavenly tribulation was also known as the Creation Realm Tribulation. It was a tribulation that martial artists at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm had to endure to advance to the Creation Realm. Let alone 1 year, even if Ningyu was given another 3 years, Sun Jiangwen didn't think that Ningyu could withstand the 9-stage heavenly tribulation. Therefore, after Ningyu swore a heavenly Tao oath, Sun Jiangwen slowly said, "This time, the Corpse Yin sect has sent out 5 sub-palaces to break into Ivory City." "Break into Ivory City?" Ningyu asked doubtfully. "The Corpse Yin sect shouldn't be so daring, right?" Ivory City was one of the most powerful cities in the Xia Kingdom, so it must have a city-protecting formation. Generally speaking, a city as big as Ivory City must have a powerful city-protecting formation. Although the 5 sub-palaces seemed to have a lot of people, it was impossible for them to send out all of them. At most, they would send out some of their high-end combat forces. It would be difficult for those high-end combat forces to break into Ivory City in a short period of time. Breaking into Ivory City is just a pretense. Shaking his head, Sun Jiangwen continued, "This time, the Corpse Yin sect's real purpose is to break into Ivory Tower." Break into Ivory Tower? When he was at the Xiantian realm, Ningyu had entered Ivory Tower and reached the 10th floor. With the strength of the old man in gray on the 10th floor, it would not be easy to break into Ivory Tower. Moreover, the entrance to Ivory Tower was only open to those on the innate realm battle list. "That's right." Suddenly, Ningyu said in surprise, "You didn't refine the body explosion pill to open the entrance to Ivory Tower, did you?" Nodding his head, Sun Jiangwen said, "Yes, the entrance to Ivory Tower has a special restriction. As long as a martial artist whose cultivation is above the Xiantian realm tries to enter, he will definitely be kicked out." "I know that," Ningyu said. "But there is one thing you don't know." Sun Jiangwen said, "Yinyang realm martial artists don't dare to casually enter Ivory Tower." In order to break into Ivory Tower, the Corpse Yin sect had done their homework. Even a week ago, they sent an early Yinyang realm martial artist to force his way into Ivory Tower. As a result, he was hit by a cold light from inside Ivory Tower and died a few days later. Therefore, the Corpse Yin sect decided to refine the body explosion pill in order to completely blow up the entrance to Ivory Tower. Ningyu frowned and asked, "Why does the Corpse Yin sect want to break into Ivory Tower?" "There is a treasure in Ivory Tower that can slow down the passage of time." Since he decided to tell Ningyu, Sun Jiangwen told Ningyu everything he knew about the Corpse Yin sect's plan. After hearing the entire plan of the Corpse Yin sect, Ningyu couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. If there was one word to describe it, it would be spirit. If there was one word to describe it, it would be courage. In order to break into Ivory Tower and obtain the illusory treasure that could slow down the passage of time, the Corpse Yin sect had racked their brains to play a very big game of chess. However, the most important part of the game, the body explosion pill, had been destroyed by Ningyu. Without the body explosion pill, the Corpse Yin sect's plan will be delayed for at least a week. Ningyu estimated that the Corpse Yin sect's plan would be delayed for at least a week. After all, it would be very difficult for them to refine a second body explosion pill in a short period of time. "Very good, Sun Jiangwen, I hope you're not lying." Ningyu didn't choose to completely believe Sun Jiangwen's words. Instead, his figure flashed and he flew toward Ivory City. Whoosh! When he entered Ivory City, Ningyu deliberately stopped beside Mu Tuo for a second before he flew toward Ivory City at full speed. "Why does this person look so familiar?" Mu Tuo looked back at Ningyu's back and frowned. "After him." Soon, Mu Tuo reacted. He immediately rose from the ground and chased after Ningyu. "Mu Tuo? The temple master told us to stay here." Seeing Mu Tuo's actions, the black-robed man frowned. However, before he could finish speaking, Mu Tuo's voice sounded in his mind. "Black Sand King, the martial artist that just passed by is most likely Ningyu. Quickly chase after him." Mu Tuo's tone was very anxious, and even a little excited. After Master Lung was killed, Mu Tuo investigated the surroundings for a long time and made a major discovery. All the signs indicated that the true martial realm martial artist that entered the cave was most likely Ningyu. Back in Bright King City, Mu Tuo exchanged the upper half of the soul nourishment method from Ningyu, and the effect was very good. Chapter 354. Chapter 354. The Dark Emperor Crisis. After entering Ivory City, Ningyu slowed down. His speed was neither too fast nor too slow. He kept a certain distance from Mu Tuo all the time. Damn it! Mu Tuo's lungs were about to explode. No matter how he sped up, he couldn't catch up with the martial artist in front of him. If he sped up, the martial artist in front of him would be faster. If he slowed down, the martial artist in front of him would be slower. "Mu Tuo, do you want to mobilize the forces of the Corpse sect in Ivory City to encircle and kill Ningyu?" the Black Sand King asked in a deep voice. The Black Sand King was also very angry that he couldn't catch up with Ningyu. "Don't act rashly. Don't mobilize the forces of the Corpse sect in Ivory City before we confirm whether he is Ningyu or not." Mu Tuo was not a reckless person. He knew that it was not good to expose the forces of the Corpse sect at this critical juncture. "When can we catch up with him like this?" The Black Sand King looked a little anxious. "It doesn't matter. He should be trying to lead us somewhere. If I'm not wrong, it won't be long before he stops." Before he finished speaking, Mu Tuo raised his eyebrows and said, "There is a dead end ahead. Let's go. The martial artist must be waiting for us in the alley." Whoosh! Whoosh! Mu Tuo and the Black Sand King were not slow. In the blink of an eye, they appeared at the entrance of the alley. "Ha ha ha! seeing the two figures in the alley, especially the familiar figure in the front. Mu Tuo couldn't help but laugh. After a short laugh, Mu Tuo's face turned cold and said, "Ningyu, it really is you. Mu Tuo, how have you been? How is the soul-nourishing method I gave you last time?" Ningyu said with a smile. "Humph! Don't try to play tricks in front of me." Mu Tuo snorted and said, "Answer my two questions honestly and I can spare your life." "Spare my life?" Pointing to his nose, Ningyu said with a smile, "Just because of the trash at the peak of the real martial realm next to you? If that's the case, I have to say that your naivety is somewhat cute." Courting death. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Black Sand King felt a great blow to his heart. He immediately rose from the ground and rushed toward Ningyu. The Black Sand King was at the peak of the true martial realm. His status in the corpse sect was not low, and he also had many true martial realm subordinate. Ningyu was just a martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm. How could he look down on him like this? Therefore, the Black Sand King was furious. He wanted to skin Ningyu alive. However, before the Black Sand King could reach Ningyu's side, he felt a burning sensation on his right cheek and stopped in his tracks. In front of him, the Red Devil cupped his fists and looked at him with interest. "To be honest, a martial artist at the peak of the true martial realm like you, I can pinch you to death with one hand," Hong Mo said indifferently. "You!" Clenching his fists, the Black Sand King did not believe in evil and rushed out again. "I've given you face, but you don't want it." The Hong Mo's expression turned cold as he punched out, hitting the Black Sand King squarely in the chest. Bang! The tremendous force from his chest caused the Black Sand King to retreat several feet. He only stopped when his body hit the wall of the alley. Poochie! Although he stopped, the Black Sand King felt his internal organs shaking. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. Primal Core Realm. Seeing that the Black Sand King had been defeated in one move, Mu Tuo's heart trembled and he hurriedly took a few steps back. The Black Sand King was at the peak of the true martial realm and was very powerful. If even he was defeated in one move, didn't that mean that the red-clothed man in front of him had at least reached the Primal Core Realm? Thinking of this, Mu Tuo faintly flinched and wanted to retreat. Although the method of nourishing the soul was rare, one had to be alive to obtain it. If one was dead, what was the use of the method of nourishing the soul? Taking a step forward, Ningyu said, "Mu Tuo, let me ask you a few questions. If you can answer them honestly, I can consider sparing your life." Swoosh! While Ningyu was speaking, Hong Mo's figure flashed and swept to the entrance of the alley, blocking Mu Tuo's way out. Mu Tuo's eyes turned, and he quietly pinched his right thumb and ring finger together. At the same time, a touch of soul force spread out in all directions. "Ningyu, ask away. As long as I know, I will definitely tell you." After doing all this, Mu Tuo regained his composure. "First question, is there any Yin-Yang realm martial artist from the Corpse Yin sect in Ivory City?" Ningyu did not care about Mu Tuo's actions and asked casually. "Not yet. There are only 2 peak Primal Core realm martial artists and 1 half-step to the Yin-Yang realm," Mu Tuo said. "Where are they now? Can you find a way to lure them out of Ivory City?" Ningyu asked. Mu Tuo paused for a moment and then continued, "It may be a little troublesome. They are all martial artists from the Hall of Martial Arts, and they are all one-way communication. I can't find them at all. Also, did you see a black dog enter Ivory City?" Ningyu asked again. "A black dog?" Hearing this, Mu Tuo was a little stunned, and then he said, "Half a day ago, a woman and a black dog appeared in front of the city gate, but they did not enter Ivory City." "Where did they go?" Ningyu asked in a deep voice, releasing his aura. Feeling the powerful aura exuding from Ningyu, Mu Tuo did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly said, "I don't know exactly where they went, but I can tell you one thing. At that time, the woman wanted to enter Ivory City, and the black dog beside her seemed to have encountered something frightening, so it directly left Ivory City with the woman in its mouth. Ningyu faintly felt that something was wrong. The Dark Emperor could wrestle with a martial artist at the initial stage of Yin-Yang realm. If he was frightened, the other party's cultivation must at least be at the intermediate stage of Yin-Yang realm. Ningyu had experienced how powerful a martial artist at the intermediate stage of Yin-Yang realm was. Even though Wen Hong only had 50% of his strength left, Ningyu had paid a great price to kill him, and he had even taken advantage of his carelessness. It could be said that once Wen Hong had the combat power of his peak, Ningyu and the Red Devil together would not be a match for him. At this time, the Dark Emperor was in trouble, and Ningyu naturally could not stand idly by. You don't even know where they went, so what's the use of keeping you? Ningyu's face was gloomy, and he said to the Red Devil, "Make it clean." Understood. The Red Devil was also anxious to find the Dark Emperor, so the moment Ningyu finished speaking, he quickly moved and came in front of Mu Tuo. Immediately, the Red Devil turned into a red flying sword. Looking at the red flying sword that was constantly enlarging in his eyes, Mu Tuo opened his mouth. Just as he was about to speak, he found that the red flying sword had already arrived in front of him and pierced into his neck. Swoosh! After killing Mu Tuo with one sword, the Red Devil once again came to the Black Sand King's side and killed him. "Ningyu, what do we do now?" the Red Devil asked in a deep voice. "What do we do? What else can we do? Hurry up and find the Dark Emperor." Ningyu tapped the ground with his toes and rushed out of Ivory City. "I know we have to find the Dark Emperor, but the key is, where are we going to find him? We can't be looking for a needle in a haystack, right?" Chapter 355. The Man in Green Crack. In a dense forest to the west of Ivory City, a black figure streaked across the sky and slammed into a towering tree. The huge force directly broke the trunk of the giant tree. "Old fart, if your imperial grandfather manages to escape today, I'll definitely pull out your tendons and skin you alive." Spitting out a mouthful of blood, the black figure stood up with difficulty and said coldly, "Haha, if you were an adult heaven-swallowing dog, you might be able to escape from me." On the other side, a man dressed in green slowly appeared and smiled. "An underage heaven-swallowing dog, and its cultivation is only at the late primal core stage. There is no way you can escape from me." Hearing the man in green's words, the black figure's face darkened. The black figure was none other than the Dark Emperor. Ever since he had been targeted by an aura at the gates of Ivory City, the Dark Emperor had been escaping with Lu Wei. Unfortunately, Lu Wei's cultivation was too low and she could not afford to run for too long. Therefore, the man in green caught up to the Dark Emperor not long after. Looking at Lu Swan not far away, the green-robed man said to the Dark Emperor, "Come with me and I will consider letting the girl go." "Where are you going?" the Dark Emperor asked. "Trying to get information out of me?" Raising an eyebrow, the man in green said, "I don't mind letting you know. Come back to the capital with me, the Emperor wants to see you." "I am just a weak heaven-swallowing dog. Why is the Emperor looking for me?" the Dark Emperor continued. "You will know when you get there. I can't explain it here." With that, the green-clothed man stomped on the ground and rushed towards the Dark Emperor. How could the Dark Emperor allow himself to be slaughtered by the man in green? With a shake of his body grew several times larger and turned into his original form. "Hey, I didn't expect you to be a purple-gold heaven-swallowing dog. This trip has been worth it." Seeing the purple-gold wings on the Dark Emperor's back, the man in green's smile widened. Originally, he had thought that finding a late primal core stage heaven-swallowing dog would be of no use. Now, it seemed that he was gravely mistaken. The purple-gold heaven-swallowing dog was the king of the heaven-swallowing dog clan. Not to mention late primal core stage, even early primal core stage heaven-swallowing dogs were much more effective than ordinary yin-yang heaven-swallowing dogs. Don't get too arrogant. Your cultivation is only at yin-yang intermediate stage. It won't be that easy for you to kill me, the Dark Emperor said coldly as he floated in midair. Kill you? Hearing the Dark Emperor's words, the green-clothed man was stunned for a moment before shaking his head. No, 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 the purple gold heaven-swallowing dog is extremely rare. The fresh dog brain is a great tonic. As long as I bring you back, the Emperor will definitely be very satisfied. Dog brain. Lu Wei's heart trembled and she hurriedly shouted, How could His Majesty do such a crazy thing? Who sent you? Sigh, what's wrong with this world? To tell the truth, no one would believe it. With a sigh, the green-clothed man said, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. A large number of people from the corpse sect have appeared in Ivory City. I need to return to the capital as soon as possible to report this to the Emperor. This concerns the lives of an entire city. Don't tell me you want to waste your time here? Humph. Old fart, if you really care about the safety of the people in Ivory City, you will definitely return to the capital as soon as possible. The Dark Emperor snorted, So, stop pretending here. Yes, the lives of the people in Ivory City have nothing to do with me. The Great Xia Kingdom is very big. Even if we lose a city, it doesn't matter. The green-clothed man shrugged and said. Then, the green-clothed man changed the topic. Purple gold heaven-swallowing dog, you have two choices now. First, follow me back obediently. Second, I will forcefully bring you back. If you go back with me, I can let that woman go. If you force me to bring you back, then, unfortunately, that woman will have to die here. I won't choose either. The Dark Emperor's face turned cold. He quickly flapped his purple gold wings and wrapped his huge tail tightly around Lu Wei. Then, he charged toward Ivory City at an astonishing speed. In the past, the Dark Emperor hated the people from the Corpse sect, but now, he hoped to encounter experts from the Corpse sect. Because the Corpse sect and the Great Xia Kingdom's imperial family had always been on bad terms, if he encountered an expert from the Corpse sect, he would definitely be entangled with the green-clothed man. At that time, the Dark Emperor would have a chance to escape. Trying to escape in front of me? With a smile, the green-clothed man made a grabbing motion in the air, and a crack appeared in the space before him. The green-clothed man's figure flashed and directly entered the crack. Swish! Dark Emperor, that green-clothed man is from the imperial family. Will it be dangerous for us to go to Ivory City? Lu Wei laid on the Dark Emperor's back and tightly hugged his tail. We have to go even if it's dangerous. How could the Dark Emperor not know how dangerous Ivory City was? Not only was it the imperial family's territory, but it was also the gathering place of the Corpse sect. Although there were all kinds of disadvantages, the most important point was that it was the place where he and Ning Yu had agreed to meet. If he went to Ivory City, he would most likely encounter Ning Yu. At this stage, he only had a chance of survival if he met Ning Yu. Go? Where do you want to go? At that moment, the space in front of the Dark Emperor surged and a figure appeared. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared, the Dark Emperor's heart sank to the bottom. Purple gold sky devouring dog, there's a limit to my patience. Although a fresh dog's brain is more delicious, a dead dog's brain doesn't taste bad either. As he spoke, the green-clothed man rose from the ground and punched at the Dark Emperor with extremely violent yuan qi fluctuations. Bang! Because the Dark Emperor's body was relatively large and the green-clothed man's speed was very fast, the Dark Emperor didn't manage to dodge the fatal blow and was struck in the chest by the green-clothed man's fist. The huge body fell heavily to the ground and even caused the ground to cave in. This woman seems to have a good relationship with you. You can't even protect yourself, but you're still protecting her. Looking at Lu Wei, who was protected by the Dark Emperor, the green-clothed man sneered. He quickly moved and appeared next to Lu Wei in the blink of an eye. She's just a girl, I'm already. Oh no. However, before the green-clothed man could attack Lu Wei, his expression changed drastically and he quickly retreated. Whoosh! As the green-clothed man retreated, the space around him suddenly exploded and a shocking sword wave appeared. Solitary sword wave. As the low roar sounded, several more shocking sword waves appeared in the air and shot toward the green-clothed man. Humph! Insignificant skill. The green-clothed man was only shocked for a moment and he quickly regained his composure. After regaining his composure, the green-clothed man quickly waved his sleeves. Whoosh! 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 Chapter 356. Even more dangerous chi. 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 The cold light collided with the sword wave, producing a sizzling sound. As the sound dissipated, two figures appeared in the area. Ning Yu. Seeing the familiar figure in front of him, the Dark Emperor shouted. I was wondering which expert it was. So it's Ning Yu from Danwu College. The green-clothed man smirked and said, Not to mention you, even if the dean of Danwu College came in person, I would still take this purple-gold sky-devouring hound away today. You're not from the corpse sect? Ning Yu had always thought that the martial artist chasing after the Dark Emperor was from the corpse sect. Now that he saw the green-clothed man, he was slightly surprised. Although the green-clothed man was a yin-yang intermediate stage martial artist, he was not from the corpse sect, so he should not have any relationship with the corpse sect. I never said that I was from the corpse sect. The green-clothed man shrugged and said, Since you're here, don't leave. Stay here. The moment the word stay was said, the green-clothed man's body suddenly became illusory. The green-clothed man's action caused Ning Yu's heart to tremble, and he immediately retreated. In the process of retreating, Ning Yu held the red demon sword and slashed out several sword rays. Whoosh! After these sword rays appeared, they did not move. Instead, they floated around Ning Yu and formed several protective barriers. Crack! As soon as the protective barrier was formed, the green-clothed man appeared in front of Ning Yu and broke the first protective barrier. Crack! Crack! Immediately afterward, the green-clothed man punched out twice, breaking the second and third protective barriers. Crack! 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 Then, the green-clothed man grabbed at the air and directly tore the remaining protective barriers apart. An afterimage? However, as soon as the protective barrier was torn apart, the green-clothed man discovered something fishy. The Ning Yu in front of him gradually became illusory, and it was only an afterimage. Dark Emperor, take Lu Wei into the spatial ring and run. At the same time, Ning Yu had already appeared before the Dark Emperor. F***ck, since when can the red demon sword tear through space? The Dark Emperor was a purple-gold heaven-devouring hound and was extremely sensitive to space. When Ning Yu appeared in front of him, he noticed that there was a momentary tremor in the space. Ning Yu was just a martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm. It was naturally impossible for him to tear the space. So there was only one conclusion: there was something wrong with the red devil sword in Ning Yu's hand. The last time he and Ning Yu separated, the flying sword could not tear through space. How long had it been since then, and now it could easily tear through space. What the F***ck are you still standing there for? If you don't leave now, it will be too late. Ning Yu kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and shouted. Understood. The Dark Emperor was not an indecisive dog. As soon as Ning Yu finished speaking, he turned into an afterimage and brought Lu Wei into the storage ring. Swoosh! In the next moment, Ning Yu wrapped all the origin energy in the illusory golden core around his ankle. He did not hesitate to burn his origin energy to increase his speed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Looking at Ning Yu's disappearing figure, the man in green did not chase after him immediately. Instead, he muttered, There's something wrong with the flying sword. It should be a king stage flying sword. There's something wrong with the storage ring too. It can actually store people inside. A king stage flying sword and a storage ring that can store people. Ning Yu, how many more surprises can you give me? The man in green sneered, then tore through the void and chased after him. Swoosh! Swoosh! In the dense forest, two figures were sprinting, one in front and one behind. The one in front was Ningyu, and the one behind was naturally the man in green. Ningyu, if we really can't do it, let's fight it out with him. Sensing that the man in green was getting closer and closer, the Dark Emperor said coldly, "He's just a martial artist in the middle stage of the yin-yang realm. I don't believe that the three of us can't deal with him together." "What do you know?" Ningyu poured a bucket of cold water on the Dark Emperor's head. "Martial artists in the middle stage of the yin-yang realm are extremely powerful. The three of us can't even defeat Wen Hong with 80% of his strength, so how can we kill the man in green at his peak? If we really can't do it, we'll still use that move." Looking at Sun Jiangwen beside him, Hong Imo said in a deep voice, "As long as Sun Jiangwen's soul power enters the man in green's sea of consciousness, we have a way to exhaust him to death. It's not that simple." How could Ning Yu not know that this move was the most effective against martial artists in the middle stage of the yin-yang realm? However, the man in green was different from Wen Hong. Back then, Wen Hong only had 50% of his strength left, and he was careless and arrogant. The man in green was different. He was at his peak and was even about to advance to the late stage of the yin-yang realm. One was the man in green at the peak of the middle stage of the yin-yang realm, and the other was Wen Hong, who only had 50% of his strength left. It could be said that at his peak, the man in green could at least kill several Wen Hong with 50% of his strength. The difference between them couldn't be measured. Then what should we do? We can't just wait for death. The Dark Emperor said anxiously. Not to the extent of waiting for death. Ningyu rolled his eyes and said to Sun Jiangwen, "Can you contact the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division?" "Contact the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division?" Sun Jiangwen was taken aback, but he immediately understood. Ningyu wanted to lure the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division over and let him fight with the man in green. "As long as you let me out, I can think of a way to contact the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division," Sun Jiangwen said in a deep voice. "Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and get out." The Dark Emperor was an impatient person. As soon as Sun Jiangwen finished speaking, he kicked Sun Jiangwen's back and kicked him out of the storage ring. Buzz buzz. After leaving the storage ring, Sun Jiangwen immediately released his peak 7th grade soul power. As the chief alchemist of the Alchemy Division, Sun Jiangwen's position in the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division was very high. As long as the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division could sense this soul power fluctuation, he would rush over immediately. Peak 7th grade soul power. You are a peak 7th grade alchemist. Just as Sun Jiangwen appeared, the man in green caught up and blocked Ning Yu's path of retreat. At this moment, the man in green only had one thought in his mind, and that was to capture Ning Yu and bring him back to study. He was very puzzled. Why would a martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm have a purple gold heaven swallowing dog, a king grade flying sword, a storage ring that could hold a person, and a peak 7th grade alchemist? Moreover, from the conversation, the man in green could tell that the peak 7th grade alchemist seemed to be very respectful to Ning Yu. "Sun Jiangwen, have you contacted the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division?" Seeing the man in green appear in front of him, Ning Yu's tone was a little anxious. "Yes, the Hall Master is nearby. He said he would be here in 3 minutes. Sun Jiangwen was different from Ning Yu. He was a little excited. Now that Ning Yu was like a clay bodhisattva crossing the river, he couldn't even protect himself. If the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division appeared at this time, wouldn't it mean that he had a great chance of escaping from the claws of Ning Yu? Suddenly, Ning Yu asked, "By the way, what is the cultivation of the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division? What's wrong?" After a slight pause, Sun Jiangwen said, "The 10 Hall Masters of the Corpse Sect are at least at the middle stage of the yin-yang realm. Fortunately, the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division at the middle stage of the yin-yang realm, and the man in green. Hearing Sun Jiangwen's words, Ningyu let out a long breath. However, before he could finish his sentence, Sun Jiangwen's next words made his face very ugly. Chapter 357. Chapter 357. Capture, F***ck, why didn't you say so earlier? Ningyu almost spat out a mouthful of blood. If he knew that the Hall Master was at the pinnacle of Yin Yang realm, he wouldn't have let Sun Jiangwen contact the Hall Master. The green-robed man at the pinnacle of Yin Yang realm couldn't even withstand one move from the Hall Master at the pinnacle of Yin Yang realm. In other words, once the Hall Master arrived, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not only would the green-robed man be killed, but he wouldn't even have the slightest chance of escaping. You didn't ask me? Sun Jiangwen felt wronged. Ningyu didn't ask him, so he couldn't tell him in advance, right? Furthermore, he also had his own plans and was hoping that the Hall Master would arrive as soon as possible. The 3 minutes he said was actually a bit of an exaggeration. To be more accurate, the Hall Master of the Alchemist Division would arrive in another minute. Ningyu, if there's really no other way, Dark Emperor and I will stay here. You and Lu Wei leave first. Red Devil naturally heard the conversation between Ningyu and Sun Jiangwen, so he immediately flew out from the storage ring. Red Devil is right. At most, I will stay with him, and you and Lu Wei run away. Dark Emperor also left the storage ring and said in a deep voice. Nonsense. How could Ningyu let Dark Emperor and Red Devil stay behind to cover the retreat? Putting aside whether Dark Emperor and Red Devil could stop the green-robed man, even if they could, Ningyu wouldn't allow them to do so. It wasn't Ningyu's style to escape by stepping on his brother's corpses. 3 minutes is enough for me. On the other side, the green-robed man didn't dare to be negligent. He immediately unleashed the aura of the pinnacle of Yin Yang realm and suppressed Ningyu and the others. Then, the green-robed man rose from the ground and appeared beside Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Before Ningyu could react, he slashed his palm at Ningyu's neck. Ningyu's eyes rolled back and he fainted when the green-clothed man's fist landed on his neck. Ningyu! Seeing that Ningyu had fainted, the Dark Emperor anxiously shouted. What are you shouting for? You'd better behave yourself and let the green-robed man take us away. Just as the Dark Emperor was shouting, Ningyu's voice sounded out in his mind, causing him to be slightly stunned. Bang! At this moment, the Dark Emperor's neck was also slashed by the green-robed man's palm. Just like Ningyu, he also fainted. Xiao! The Red Demon was very smart. When he saw that Ningyu and the Dark Emperor had fainted, his figure flashed, and he directly entered the Red Demon Sword's main body before entering the storage ring again. Sun Jiangwen, when the Alchemist Hall Master arrives, you will know what to say and what not to say. Since Ningyu firmly controlled Sun Jiangwen's sea of consciousness, the green-robed man did not know the conversation between him and Sun Jiangwen. Swoosh! As soon as Ningyu finished speaking, he was carried by the green-robed man and flew toward Ivory City. The green-robed man was not stupid, and he knew that he was no match for a martial artist at the peak of the mastery Yin Yang realm. If a martial artist at the peak of the mastery Yin Yang realm wanted to catch up to him, it would not take long for them to catch up. Therefore, his plan to return to the capital with Ningyu and the Dark Emperor had to be put on hold. Right now, he only had one choice, which was to return to Ivory City first. The green-robed man seemed to have used all his strength, and his speed was shockingly fast. In order to reach Ivory City earlier, he did not hesitate to burn his primordial chi to increase his speed. After all, being caught by a powerhouse of the mastery Yin Yang realm from the corpse Yin sect was not a joke. At best, he would be refined into a corpse, and at worst, he would die. Buzz. 30 seconds after the green-robed man disappeared, the space in this area began to surge. Following that, a figure appeared. Hall Master! You're finally here! Looking at the familiar figure in front of him, Sun Jiangwen hurriedly said. The alchemist hall master first looked at Sun Jiangwen, then released his perception to explore the area. After a while, he retracted his perception and said in a deep voice, "What happened? Where's the body explosion pill?" This. Sun Jiangwen was a little embarrassed, and he hesitated. The body explosion pill was about to be formed, but who knew that a powerhouse would appear in the stone room without anyone noticing, and, pa! Hearing this, the alchemist hall master's figure flashed, and he slapped Sun Jiangwen's face. The crisp sound directly caused Sun Jiangwen to be pushed back several meters, and he finally fell to the ground. You should know how important the body explosion pill is to this plan. The alchemist hall master said coldly, "Without the body explosion pill, how are we going to break the entrance of the ivory tower?" "Hall master, this matter is not entirely my fault." Sun Jiangwen climbed up from the ground with difficulty and said, "That martial artist is too strong. Not only is his cultivation very high, but most importantly, the flying sword in his hand is a king-rank flying sword." King-rank flying sword? Hearing this, the alchemist hall master's heart trembled. From the sword mark on Yezhin's neck, the alchemist hall master determined that the martial artist who killed him was an expert swordsman. He did not expect it to be a king-rank flying sword. No, how did Sun Jiangwen know? To tell you the truth, it was that martial artist who forced me to contact you. Sun Jiangwen clenched his teeth, as if he had made a very difficult decision, and said, "He was captured by the Enyang realm middle stage martial artist of the imperial family, and the king-rank flying sword was also taken away. What is the cultivation of that martial artist?" The alchemist hall master asked in a deep voice. "The cultivation of the true martial realm middle stage," Sun Jiangwen said solemnly. "A true martial realm middle stage martial artist was able to capture you. Good, very good. You dare to lie in front of me." The alchemist hall master's face completely darkened. Seeing the alchemist hall master's expression, Sun Jiangwen hurriedly said, "That true martial realm middle stage martial artist is not simple. He appeared at the crucial moment when I was refining the body explosion pill and held me hostage. I don't want to talk nonsense with you here. Where did that true martial realm middle stage martial artist go?" Waving his hand, the alchemist hall master said, "When I find him, I will settle accounts with you. I don't know where exactly he went, but according to my estimation, he should have been taken to Ivory City by the Enyang realm middle stage martial artist of the imperial family." Sun Jiangwen let out a long breath. From the tone of the alchemist hall master, it was obvious that he did not want to kill him. In fact, Sun Jiangwen was also worried. He had made up his mind that as long as the alchemist hall master wanted to kill him, he would tell him that he was controlled by Ningyu. Since the alchemist hall master did not want to kill him, there was no need for him to offend Ningyu. After all, the conversation between him and the alchemist hall master should have been clearly heard by Ningyu. If Ningyu came to remotely control him, it was very likely that he would directly explode. The Enyang realm middle stage martial artist of the imperial family. The alchemist hall master did not immediately go to Ivory City because the people sent to the capital to investigate had not sent back any news. He did not know whether the imperial family and the old monsters of Danwu College had left the capital or not. Once the two old monsters left the capital and came to Ivory City, wouldn't he be courting death if he went there? This matter needs to be considered at length. After pondering for a moment, the alchemist hall master was about to speak, but his eyebrows twitched and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 358. The Governor's Mansion. Brother Wang, who do you think did this? Even the ancestor of the Sun family, who was at the peak of the primal core stage, was killed in such a miserable way. In front of the gate of Ivory City, there were two guards standing on both sides. One of the younger guards said, "The Sun family is one of the top families in Ivory City. Apart from the Zhang family, The Sun family is the second most powerful family. After such a big thing happened, the Sun family will definitely not let it go. I heard that the only person who has a grudge against the Sun family is Zhang. Shoo! Xiao Li, do you want to die? Just do your job and don't ask or say anything else. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Before the guard could finish speaking, the middle-aged man called Brother Wang hurriedly put his finger to his mouth. At the same time, he looked around and scolded in a low voice. Is it really so terrible? Xiao Zhang was a little disapproving. Although the Zhang family was very powerful in Ivory City, the Sun family was not a pushover. Moreover, he heard that the Sun family had joined forces with the royal family to find out who killed their ancestor. Xiao Zhang, don't say I didn't remind you. The middle-aged man seemed to have a good relationship with Xiao Zhang. He lowered his voice and said, I have a distant relative who works for the Zhang family. He said that the Zhang family is not clean and seems to have a secret relationship with the corpse sect. Hearing this, little Zhang shouted, Corpse sect! Slap! The middle-aged man slapped Xiao Zhang's face and said angrily, Even if you don't want to live, I still want to live. Swoosh! At this moment, an afterimage flashed past them. The middle-aged man and Xiao Zhang looked at each other and chose to shut their mouth. Hey, where are we going? After entering Ivory City, the green-clothed man put Ningyu and the Dark Emperor down. As soon as they were put down, Ningyu opened his eyes and said doubtfully, If I'm not wrong, this should be Ivory City. After confirming that they were in Ivory City, Ningyu temporarily stopped worrying about his safety. After all, if the green-clothed man wanted to kill them, he would have done it long ago. There was no need for him to come to Ivory City. Why are you talking so much nonsense? The green-robed man felt very vexed. In order to avoid the alchemist palace master's pursuit, the green-robed man had first ignited his essence. Later on, he had not hesitated to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. Fortunately, they were not too far away from Ivory City. Otherwise, the green-robed man would not have the confidence to escape from a martial artist at the peak of the late stage of Yin-Yang realm, especially with Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. To the city lord's mansion. The green-robed man could not be bothered to waste his breath on Ningyu. He grabbed Ningyu and the Dark Emperor with each of his hands and rushed towards the city lord manor. Not long after, the green-robed man stopped in front of the city lord's mansion. The city lord's mansion is an important place. Upon seeing the green-clothed man, a guard at the entrance of the city lord's mansion took a step forward and said in a deep voice, Bang! However, before he could finish his sentence, the green-clothed man flicked his sleeve and blasted him several feet away. After that, the green-clothed man brought Ningyu and the Dark Emperor into the city lord's mansion. This is the city lord's mansion. May I know who you are? Ningyu. When entering the city lord's mansion, the green-clothed man did not deliberately conceal his aura. Instead, he slightly released his aura. As the city lord of Ivory City, Yang Kuan, who had recently reached the late stage of real martial realm, could naturally sense the powerful aura. Therefore, as soon as the green-clothed man entered the city lord's mansion, Yang Kuan and the master of the Sun family greeted him. When he saw the familiar figure next to the green-clothed man, Yang Kuan was slightly stunned and then asked, Why are you here? Didn't you enter Danwu College to cultivate? A series of questions appeared in Yang Kuan's mind. Yang Yu had sent a message from the Sacred Institute, telling him all about Ningyu's achievements and how Ningyu had helped him. As a father, Yang Kuan had to thank his son for being saved by someone else. Are you the city lord of Ivory City? The green-clothed man looked Yang Kuan up and down and said with a frown, Ivory City is not a small city, but the city lord is only at the late stage of real martial realm. Forget it. I don't care what your cultivation is. Now find me a quiet room immediately. I need to cultivate. Also, find a way to contact the capital immediately. Tell them that Ivory City is in trouble and needs help. Hearing this, Yang Kun was a little dumbfounded. Who on earth is this green-clothed man? Does he regard the City Lord's mansion as his home? City Lord Yang, this is the favorite of His Majesty. I advise you to do as he says. Otherwise, you may lose your position as the City Lord. Ningyu glanced at the green-clothed man and then turned to Yang Kun. However, after Ningyu said this, his mouth moved again, as if he was saying something. Lip reading. Ningyu was saying lip reading. From the lip reading, Yang Kun learned of very important news, that was, Ningyu had been kidnapped. Moreover, Ningyu asked him to pass this news to Danwu College. Well, how should I address you, senior? Yang Kun was also a cunning old fox. He asked the green-clothed man calmly. You can call me Tujan. The green-clothed man glanced at Yang Kun and said in a deep voice. Senior 2, I will vacate the secret room of the City Lord's mansion immediately. You can cultivate in there. After saying this, Yang Kun winked at the martial artists who had just arrived and then made a gesture to invite them to go ahead. Ningyu and this dog will follow me. Following Yang Kun's gesture, Tujan walked in the front. Creak. About 3 minutes later, Yang Kun and the others stopped in front of a secret room. Yang Kun took out a golden key and inserted it into the groove of the door of the secret room. As soon as the key was inserted, the door was opened. We can go in by ourselves. You should quickly think of a way to contact the Great Xia Kingdom's imperial family. Seeing that Yang Kun was about to enter the secret room, Tujan waved his hand and said, Also, immediately activate the city barrier formation. What? Activate the city barrier formation? Hearing the first half of Tujan's words, Yang Kun did not feel anything. However, when he heard the second half of Tujan's words, he was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. Activating the city barrier formation was not a joke. It would consume a large amount of resources. With the current resources of the City Lord's mansion, the city barrier formation could only last for a day at most. After a day, it would automatically dissipate. However, what shocked Yang Kun was what came next. Tujan's face was a little cold as he said, Use the Imperial family's unique voice transmission technique. You must contact the Emperor within an hour. This time, Yang Kun was really shocked to the point of speechlessness. It was reasonable for him to activate the city barrier formation, but it was a little too much to ask him to use the Imperial family's unique voice transmission technique. The Imperial family's unique voice transmission technique could only be used once in every city. Most importantly, once the Imperial family's unique voice transmission technique was used, the City Lord of the city would be removed, regardless of the reason. Chapter 359. Although Yang Kun was extremely reluctant to use the exclusive method of transmission, he had no other choice. Tujan's cultivation was at the middle stage of yin-yang state, while he was only at the late stage of real martial state. There was a huge gap between their strength. Even the strongest person in the City Lord's mansion was only at the peak of primal core state, which was still a far cry from Tujan. Filled with unwillingness, Yang Kun left the secret chamber. City Lord Yang, isn't it a bit rash to open the Great Protective Array? Outside the secret chamber, Sun Xinjian, the head of the Sun family, said hesitantly, Opening the Great Protective Array is not a joke. Since the establishment of Ivory City, the Great Protective Array has only been opened twice. Alas, I know that too. Sighing, Yang Kun said helplessly, The last 2 times the Great Protective Array was opened were to defend against the barbarians. I don't know why we need to open it this time. In that case, why don't we open the Great Protective Array? Sun Xinjian said in a deep voice. I'm afraid not. Tujan is a martial artist at the middle stage of yin-yang state. If we dare to disobey him, the consequences will be unimaginable. Shaking his head, Yang Kun said. But once the Great Protective Array is opened, we won't be able to investigate the Zhang family. Sun Xinjian hurriedly said, The Zhang family is very likely to collude with the Corp sect. Once the Great Protective Array is opened, they will be on guard. I can't do anything about it. We can only take one step at a time. Taking a deep breath, Yang Kuan left to prepare for the opening of the Great Protective Array. Behind him, Sun Xinjian stomped his feet and left the city lord's mansion, returning to the Sun family. In the secret chamber, Tu Zhan threw Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor aside. He sat cross-legged, took out a few top-grade origin crystals, and began to absorb and refine them. Seeing Tu Zhan's appearance, the Dark Emperor's mind became active. After a moment of silence, he whispered to Ning Yu, "Why don't we join hands and kill this old man while he is resting?" Saying this, the Dark Emperor stretched out his hand and made a cut on his neck. Shaking his head, Ning Yu said, "Tu Zhan is a martial artist at the middle stage of Yin-Yang state. Even if we join hands, we won't be able to kill him." "Humph. At least you have some self-awareness." Right at that moment, Tu Zhan grunted coldly and said, "All of you are no different than ants in my eyes. I can crush all of you whenever I want to." "Hee, old man, don't be so arrogant." The corner of the Dark Emperor's lips curled up as he laughed. "If you wanted to kill us, you would have done so long ago. Why wait until now?" Tu Zhan stood up with a whoosh and arrived in front of the Dark Emperor in a flash. Before the Dark Emperor could react, Tu Zhan's left hand quickly struck out and firmly grabbed the Dark Emperor's neck. "Although you are a purple-gold sky-devouring hound, in my eyes, you are no different from a dead dog." Tu Zhan exerted some force on his wrist and said coldly, "The reason why I haven't killed you is because a living heaven-devouring dog is very useful to His Majesty. If you don't know what's good for you, I'll cut off your tongue." "Tu Zhan, let's talk this out." Ning Yu's expression was a little ugly. He was very angry that his good brother had been threatened by Tu Zhan. However, Ning Yu knew that he could only bear with it for now. If he couldn't even bear with something like this, how could he achieve great things in the future? Furthermore, Tu Zhan didn't really cut off the Dark Emperor's tongue. If Tu Zhan really did cut off the Dark Emperor's tongue, Ning Yu would fight to the death with Tu Zhan even if he had to risk his life. Bang! Tu Zhan raised his eyebrows when he heard Ning Yu's words and casually threw the Dark Emperor into a corner. Then, Tu Zhan said to Ning Yu, "Bring me your storage ring, I want to study it." "Oh right, I also want to take a look at the red flying sword on you," Tu Zhan added. Hearing this, Ning Yu's expression darkened. Whether it was the storage ring or the red fiend sword, he didn't want to hand them over to Tu Zhan. Lu Wei was in the storage ring, and the red devil was in the red devil sword. "Tu Zhan, I am a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College. Don't you think it's a little unkind for you to do this?" Ning Yu said coldly. "Unkind." Tu Zhan's lips curled up and he said coldly, "In the face of absolute power, there is no such thing as unkind. I am stronger than you, so I can order you to do anything. You are stronger than me, so you can order me to do anything. This is how the world is. Now that you are in my hands, you will die if I want you to die, and you will live if I want you to live." As soon as he finished speaking, Tu Zhan rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage as he charged toward Ning Yu. At this moment, Tu Zhan made up his mind to take the storage ring and the red flying sword. Rumble! However, before Tu Zhan could reach Ning Yu, his expression changed drastically, and he immediately retreated. However, the speed at which he retreated was obviously too slow. He had only taken 2 steps back when a cold light pierced his chest. His body flew far away and slammed heavily into the wall of the secret chamber. At the same time, a loud bang sounded, and the door of the secret chamber was blasted open. Then, 2 figures appeared. Looking at the 2 figures that suddenly appeared, Ning Yu was slightly stunned at first, then his heart sank to the bottom. Of the 2 figures in front of him, one was the peak 7th-grade alchemist Sun Jiangwen, while the other had a powerful aura, and his cultivation base was at least at the yin-yang realm. Hall Master of the Alchemy Division. At this moment, Ningyu thought of a person, the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division. A martial artist that Sun Jiangwen treated with such respect was most likely the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division. Compared to Ningyu's shock, Tujan was even more shocked. As a martial artist of the intermediate yin-yang realm, he could clearly feel that the man in front of him was at the peak of the advanced yin-yang realm. Combined with the conversation between Ningyu and Sun Jiangwen in the dense forest, it was obvious that the man in front of him was the Hall Master of the Corpse Sect. After the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division appeared, he first looked at Tujan, then at Ningyu, and finally at the Dark Emperor. Heaven-swallowing dog, I didn't expect to see another heaven-swallowing dog. The Hall Master of the Alchemy Division frowned and said, compared to the huge heaven-swallowing dog in the treasure pavilion, this is just a cub, and its cultivation base is only at the late primal core stage. Forget it, a late primal core heaven-swallowing dog is of no use to the Corpse Sect. I'll start with you first. The next moment, the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division appeared next to the Dark Emperor and waved his sleeve. Suddenly, the space around the Dark Emperor surged. Even if I die today, I will pluck a single hair off your body. The Dark Emperor was not a pushover. Although his cultivation base was worlds apart from the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division, he did not retreat. Instead, a pair of purple gold wings appeared on his back, and 2 rays of cold light shot out. Purple gold heaven-swallowing dog? Seeing the purple gold wings on the Dark Emperor's back, the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division was stunned at first, then his figure flashed and easily dodged the Dark Emperor's attack. Chapter 360. Easy Encirclement, Alchemist Temple Leader, the city protecting array has been opened. How did you get in? Taking a step forward, Tujan said coldly, with your cultivation at the peak of late stage of yin-yang realm, it is impossible for you to break the city protecting array in a short time. It is indeed difficult for me to break the city protecting array with my own strength. The Alchemist Temple Leader said with a smile. Could it be that the Corpse Yin sect has launched a large-scale attack on Ivory City? Tujan's heart shuddered and he was faintly worried. Alas, there are idiots every year, but there are especially many this year. The Alchemist Temple Leader sighed and said, Is it impossible to enter Ivory City without breaking the city protecting array? How is that possible? Tujan was surprised. Idiot, the Alchemist Temple Leader must have entered Ivory City before the city protecting array was opened. Ningyu said disdainfully. You. Tujan's face was a little ugly. Being ridiculed by Ningyu, who was at the middle stage of the real martial realm, he had an impulse to kill Ningyu. But he knew that in front of the Alchemist Temple Leader, it was not his turn to behave atrociously. Alchemist Temple Leader, how about we make a deal? Suddenly, Ningyu turned to the Alchemist Temple Leader and said, If you want to break into the Ivory Tower, I can help you. Tell me about it. The Alchemist Temple Leader stared at Ningyu with interest and said, After the failure of refining the body explosion pill, he was ready to blow up the entrance of the Ivory Tower with Tujan's self-explosion. Now that he heard Ningyu's words, he was very surprised. Even he couldn't blow up the Ivory Tower, so what could Ningyu do? You should know that someone broke into the 8th floor of the Ivory Tower not long ago. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said, What if I told you that Danyu, who's widely rumored to have reached the 8th floor of the Ivory Tower, is me, and I told you that I didn't just reach the 8th floor of the Ivory Tower, but the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower? I wonder how you would feel. You are Danyu, and he reached the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower? Before the Alchemist Temple Master could express his shock, Tujan, who was next to him, shouted, The 10th floor of the Ivory Tower is not so easy to pass. Even the top martial artist on the innate realm battle list cannot pass the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower. Since the establishment of the Ivory Tower, only one martial artist has reached the 9th floor. No one made it to the 10th level. Ningyu could not be bothered to speak to Tujan. He continued to speak to the alchemist hall master. Since I was able to reach the 10th floor of the ivory tower, I naturally have a way to open the ivory tower's entrance. Tell me about it, the alchemist hall master said in a deep voice. If you let the Dark Emperor go, I'll help you break open the entrance to the ivory tower, Ningyu said. In front of me, you have no other choice. Shrugging his shoulders, the alchemist hall master said, to tell you the truth, none of the cultivators who try to bargain with me have a good ending. You now have two choices. First, come with me to open the entrance to the ivory tower. Second, die here and I'll bring the purple gold sky devouring dog back to the corpse sect. Alchemist hall master, don't threaten me. Ningyu already knew the corpse sect's overall plan. If they couldn't break open the ivory tower this time, they would suffer heavy losses. It could be said that the longer they waited, the more losses the corpse sect would suffer. Moreover, the pressure on the alchemist hall master's shoulders would also increase. After all, he had a lot of responsibility for the failure to refine the body explosion pill. Yang Kuan has already executed the imperial family's unique voice transmission technique. I believe that the experts of the imperial family will arrive within 6 hours. At that time, I'm afraid that all of you can only choose to retreat, Ningyu said indifferently. You're threatening me. The alchemist hall master unleashed his aura and pressed down on Ningyu. You're the first true martial realm cultivator who dares to threaten me. Good, very good, very good. The alchemist hall master said coldly. Although the body explosion pill has not been refined, we still have a backup plan. With that, the alchemist hall master raised his right hand and pointed at Tujan. The self-destruction of a yin-yang realm middle-stage cultivator should be enough to blow up the ivory tower's entrance, right? Swish. As soon as the alchemist hall master's voice fell, Tujan's expression changed drastically. Could it be that the alchemist hall master wanted to use his self-destruction to blow up the ivory tower? Thinking of this, Tujan said coldly, "Don't think I'm afraid of you. You alone are not enough to control my self-destruction." Buzz. At this moment, the surrounding space surged, and then 4 figures appeared. Looking at the 4 martial artists in front of him, Ningyu's heart trembled. He quickly guarded his mind and hid the 4 golden cores in the depths of his knowledge sea. Because these 4 martial artists were very strong, the lowest cultivation was at the yin-yang realm middle stage. There was even a martial artist in a purple robe who had the same cultivation as the alchemist hall master, the yin-yang realm late stage. Alchemist hall master, why are you talking nonsense with him? The purple-robed martial artist said directly. Alchemist hall master, someone sent me a pillow when I was sleepy. I was just worried about how to open the ivory tower, and now someone sent me warmth, another martial artist said with a strange tone. The people below are already hungry and thirsty. As long as we can break the ivory tower, they will start a massacre in Ivory City. A martial artist at the yin-yang realm middle stage licked his lips and said, with so much fresh meat, I believe we can refine a lot of corpse puppets. Alchemist hall master, fortunately, this time the genius of the Ghost Talent Palace controlled the city lord of Ivory City and forced him to tell us how to open and close the protective array. The Ghost Talent Palace master had always been on bad terms with the Alchemist hall master. Naturally, he would not miss the opportunity to make sarcastic remarks about the Alchemist hall master. At the beginning of the plan, the Ghost Talent Palace master had sent the second martial artist of the Ghost Talent Palace to Ivory City to investigate the situation first. This time, fortunately, the genius of the Ghost Talent Palace had appeared. Otherwise, they would still be outside Ivory City thinking about how to break the protective array. Although you've taken control of the Great City Barrier Array, we only have 6 hours. The Alchemist hall master's face turned cold and immediately rushed towards Tujan. With the speed of the old monster of the imperial family, he would arrive from the capital to Ivory City in 6 hours at most. At that time, it would be very difficult for them to break into the Ivory City. Therefore, they only had 6 hours. Damn it! The Ghost Talent Palace Master cursed and his figure flashed as he joined the battle. Swish! 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 The other 3 Corpse Sect Branch Masters didn't dare to be negligent. They all joined in on the battle. Poochie! After all, Tujan was only a martial artist at the Yin-Yang Realm middle stage. Besieged by 5 martial artists who were stronger than him, he only lasted for a short while before he was defeated. Alchemist Hall Master, quickly send your soul force into his sea of consciousness. The Ghost Talent Palace Master shouted. As soon as the Ghost Talent Palace Master spoke, the Alchemist Hall Master sent his soul force into Tujan's sea of consciousness. If he wanted to control a martial artist to self-destruct, he must control his sea of consciousness and his consciousness. Go! Seeing that the Alchemist Hall Master sent his soul force into Tujan's sea of consciousness, the Ghost Talent Palace Master rose from the ground and rushed outside. Chapter 361. Humph! We are going to break the ivory tower. Why are we bringing these 2 pieces of trash? The actions of the Alchemist Hall Master displeased the Ghost Genius Palace Master. He snorted coldly and said, "Don't tell me how these 2 pieces of trash can help. Do I need you to interfere in my affairs?" Being ridiculed in front of so many people, the Alchemist Hall Master's face turned ugly. Stop arguing. The most important thing now is to break the ivory tower. Everything else can be put aside. The Martial Force Hall Master clearly didn't want to stay here any longer. He waved his hand and said, "This sky-devouring hound and this martialist will stay in this secret room for now." The Alchemy Master Hall's chief frowned slightly upon hearing the Martial Force Hall's words. He fell into deep thought. The black dog in front of him was a purple-gold sky-devouring dog, which was very rare. From the tone of the Martial Force Temple Master and the Ghost Talent Temple Master, it seemed like they did not know the true identity of the black dog. They only knew that the black dog was a sky-devouring hound. If they had known that the black dog was a purple-gold sky-devouring hound, they would definitely not have had such an attitude. Perhaps they would have already started fighting for it. Thinking of this, the Alchemist Hall Master said calmly, "Since the Martial Force Hall Master has put it this way, I will not insist. I will head to the Ivory Tower now." After saying this, the Hall Master of the Pill Refinement Hall led Tujan out of the chamber. The Ghost Talent Temple Master and the others followed closely behind him. As for the Martial Force Palace Master, he had set up a Yuan Qi barrier in front of the broken door to ensure that Ningyu would not escape. After doing all this, the Martial Hall Master rose from the ground and rushed towards the Ivory Tower. After everyone left, only Ningyu and the Dark Emperor were left in the secret chamber. No, it should be a man and a dog. Whoosh! The Emperor of the Dark Emperor was an impatient person. After confirming that the Alchemist Hall Master and the others had left, he went to the exit of the secret room and tried to break open the Essence Qi light barrier. Qi. However, no matter how the Dark Emperor attacked the light barrier, there were no cracks on it at all. It was as tough as 10,000-year-old iron. F***CK, this is infuriating. Why is this Yuan Qi barrier so strong? The Dark Emperor sat on the ground and panted heavily. In order to defend against Tujan and the Alchemist Hall Master's attacks, he had consumed a lot of energy. Now that he was trying to break the Yuan Qi light barrier, his aura was extremely weak, and the Yuan Qi in his knowledge sea was almost completely used up. Ningyu, what should we do now? Since he could not break through the Essence Qi light barrier, the Dark Emperor turned his gaze to Ningyu. After all, among the 3 of them, Ningyu had the most tricks. Taking a step forward, Ningyu arrived in front of the Yuan Qi light shield. He released his soul power and carefully observed the Yuan Qi light shield. After a while, Ningyu shook his head and said, "Unless one's Yuan Qi reaches the intermediate Yin-Yang stage, It'll be difficult to break this barrier. Whoosh! At that moment, Red Fiend flew out of the flying sword and appeared in the secret chamber. Ningyu, can we use the old method? Red Fiend frowned. Back then, there was also a soul protection barrier in front of Sun Jiangwen's secret chamber. At that time, Ningyu did not touch the soul protection barrier and entered the secret chamber. I'm afraid not. Ningyu had also thought of leaving the secret chamber underground. However, the phantom armor was already heavily damaged and could not burrow underground like before. This won't do, that won't do. Are we just going to wait for death here? The Dark Emperor's expression was cold as he said in a deep voice, I don't believe that we can't break this Yuan Qi barrier today if the three of us work together. Who? Haha, you have to believe it even if you don't believe it. Before the Dark Emperor finished speaking, a figure appeared in front of the secret chamber. The figure was roughly in his 20s. He wasn't very tall, and there was a hint of coldness between his brows. Standing in front of the secret chamber, he cupped his fists and stared at the Dark Emperor with interest. Then, his gaze stopped on Ningyu. The Hall Master told me that there's a martial artist younger than me with a soul force that has reached the middle stage of the 5th grade. I didn't believe it at first, but now that I see you, I believe it. Middle stage of the true martial realm, middle stage of the 5th grade soul force. It's not easy to reach such a height at this age. By the way, do you want to leave the secret chamber? Suddenly, the martial artist raised his brows and said, I can let you leave the secret chamber, but you have to promise me one condition. What condition? Ningyu said calmly. It's simple. Snapping his fingers, the martial artist said, Submit to me and be my servant. Tell me, how do you want me to submit to you? Ningyu glared at the Dark Emperor, who was about to flare up, and said in a deep voice, I'm in the secret chamber, and you're outside. Even if I want to submit to you, there's no way. Ah, that's easy. Laughing maniacally, the martial artist said, You can swear on the heavenly oath. As long as you swear on the heavenly oath, I can help you break open the Yuan Qi barrier. The Yuan Qi barrier is not that easy to break, You actually have such a thing. Who the hell are you? Before he could finish, Ningyu stared at the black ball in the martial artist's hand. From the black ball, Ningyu could feel an extremely violent Yuan Qi fluctuation. This violent Yuan Qi fluctuation was enough to break open the Yuan Qi barrier left by the martial temple master. I'm the second-ranked martial artist of the Ghost Kai Palace, Gui Er, Gui Er said proudly. As the second-ranked genius of the Ghost Kai Palace, Gui Er not only had a middle stage of the primal core stage, but his soul force had also reached the late stage of the 5th grade. He and Gui Er were known as the two great geniuses of the Ghost Kai Palace, and it was said that if the two of them worked together, they could easily defeat the 3rd to 50th ranked martial artists of the Ghost Kai Palace. However, what Ningyu said next made Gui Er want to vomit blood. Gui Er. Frowning slightly, Ningyu said, I've never heard of him. It's okay if you've never heard of him. You'll hear of him soon. Gui Er clenched his fists and threw the black ball at the Yuan Qi barrier. Oh no! Dark Emperor, Red Devil, quickly enter the ring. Seeing this, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly retreated. Kaboom! In the process of his retreat, the black ball-shaped object had already collided with the Yuan Qi barrier. A loud rumble sounded, and a terrifying wave of energy rippled out in all directions. Damn it! Ningyu did not expect Gui Er to be so bold, and he had no choice but to wave the Red Devil and unleash a few sword rays. In Ningyu's opinion, this terrifying wave of energy was something that even a primal core martial artist would not dare to face head-on. Did Gui Er have something to rely on? As he unleashed his sword rays, Ningyu shifted his gaze to the door of the secret chamber. What he saw infuriated him quite a bit. The door to the secret chamber was empty, and Gui Er was long gone. Idiot, did you think I would let you out so easily? Chapter 362. The city lord's mansion's strongest cultivator Chi-Chi. In the secret chamber, several sword beams collided with the shockwave, producing a sizzling sound. Unfortunately, even though Ning Yu desperately waved the red devil sword to slash out sword beams, he was still unable to withstand the powerful shockwave produced by the explosion. Enter the storage ring. Gritting his teeth, Ning Yu's figure flashed and directly entered the storage ring. Swish! Swish! Behind him, the Dark Emperor and the Red Devil did not dare to delay and rushed into the storage ring. Boom! As soon as Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor entered the storage ring, the powerful shockwave came into close contact with the storage ring, directly smashing it into the wall of the secret chamber. Crack! Last time when Wenhong exploded, if it wasn't for the wisp of soul power that the Medicine Emperor left in the storage ring would have been destroyed. This time, Ning Yu was not so lucky. The powerful shockwave of the explosion directly caused some cracks to appear on the storage ring. Poochie! The space within the storage ring was unstable. If it cracked, the people inside would not be any better. Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor were fine. After all, they were powerful. Lu Wei's situation was very bad. At this moment, her aura was very weak, as if she was about to die. Damn it! Cursing, Ning Yu immediately sat cross-legged and placed his hands on Lu Wei's back, transferring his own Yuan Qi to Lu Wei. Who? After about 15 minutes, Ning Yu let out a long breath and slowly withdrew his hands from Lu Wei's back. Ning Yu, how is your little girlfriend? Looking at the still unconscious Lu Wei, the Dark Emperor asked anxiously. It's not a big deal. As long as she doesn't suffer such a huge impact again, she should be able to wake up soon. Ning Yu said solemnly. We have to take revenge for this. That Gui heir looks like he needs a beating. I'll go find him now. The Dark Emperor said coldly. He's just a mid-stage Yuan Dan turtle son. I can crush him with one hand. Whoosh! At the same time, in a luxurious room, Gui heir immediately stood up from his chair and muttered, under that powerful shockwave, Ning Yu should have died without even a corpse left. It's time to prepare to open the city barrier array. With that, Gui heir's figure flashed as he rushed towards Yang Kuan's room. Before long, Gui heir arrived at Yang Kuan's room. In the room, Yang Kuan was tied to a chair, and a middle-aged man stood beside him. Seeing Gui heir come in, Yang Kuan's face turned green with anger. He coldly said, Corpse sect bastards, aren't you afraid, Pa? Yang Kuan hadn't finished speaking when the middle-aged man beside him slapped him on the cheek and said coldly, This is a peerless genius from the Ghost Talent Hall. How dare you speak to him like that? Pooh! Yang Kuan spat on the ground and said, Zhang Zhe, you colluded with the Corpse sect. Aren't you afraid of losing face for the Zhang family? Ha ha! Zhang Zhe raised his head and laughed. He immediately said, To tell you the truth, the Zhang family has already surrendered to the Corpse sect. I'm only doing this because I'm a wise man. You call yourself a wise man? At best, you're just a fool. Yang Kuan angrily said, I've already used the royal family's unique sound transmission method. In less than 3 hours, the Emperor will send experts over. When that time comes, it will be the time of your death. 3 hours is enough for us. Before Zhang Zhe could speak, Gui heir went straight to a chair and sat down. Gui heir waved his hand and said, I already know how to open and close the city barrier array. I can open it at any time. Even if the capital's experts come, they will have to spend a lot of effort to enter Ivory City. By that time, we will have already broken the ivory tower and taken away the magic treasure that can slow down the passage of time. Hearing Gui heir's words, Yang Kuan was so angry that he wanted to rush out and fight with Gui heir. But he knew that with his late-stage true martial realm cultivation, even 10 of him would not be Gui heir's match. You want to break the ivory tower? That's just a pipe dream. Yang Kuan rolled his eyes and said, Since the ivory tower was built, many experts have tried to enter it, but without exception, they all ended in failure. I advise you not to waste your energy. Haha, in that case I should thank you for your kindness. Gué smiled and said, to tell you the truth, the ivory tower will definitely be broken today. Forget it, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Anyway, I already know how to open and close the city barrier array, so there's no need to keep you alive. In the next moment, Gué raised his eyebrows and threw a cold light from his sleeve, shooting it at Yang Kuan. Seeing this, Zhang Zhe quickly moved away from Yang Kuan. The cold light from Gué attack was so powerful that with his primal core cultivation, he naturally could not block it. Moreover, the person Gué wanted to kill was Yang Kuan, so there was no need for him to block it for Yang Kuan. Bang! However, just when Yang Kuan thought he was about to be killed, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him and blocked the fatal blow for him. Old Ho? Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared, Yang Kuan's face lit up. The martial artist who blocked the attack for him was none other than the strongest person in the Chancellor's mansion, Ho Qinchen. However, Yang Kuan was puzzled about one thing. Wasn't Ho Qinchen at the peak of the primal core stage? Why was his aura now at the early stage of the yin-yang stage? Yang Kuan, I told you to train hard and not be obsessed with power, but you just wouldn't listen. Ho Qinchen glanced at Gué and Zhang Zhe and said in a low voice, even a mere primal core martial artist can push you to this point. Ho Qinchen, the strongest person in the Chancellor's mansion. A week ago, he had entered the forbidden area of the Chancellor's mansion to train in seclusion. Originally, he did not have any hope of advancing to the yin-yang stage, but who would have thought that he would advance to the early stage of the yin-yang stage? Now that he had successfully advanced, Ho Qinchen naturally had to leave the forbidden area. According to the rules of Ivory City, whenever a martial artist advanced to the yin-yang stage, there must be a big banquet and friends must be invited to congratulate him. The matter of sending the invitation naturally fell to Yang Kuan, so when Ho Qinchen left the forbidden area, the first person he looked for was Yang Kuan. Unexpectedly, when he entered the room, he saw Yang Kuan being attacked. You are from the corpse sect. Originally, Ho Qinchen did not put Gué in his eyes, but when he felt the familiar aura around Gué, he could not help but raise his eyebrows and said, the corpse sect is so arrogant to openly break into the Chancellor's mansion and kidnap the Chancellor. Old fart, have you said enough? Gué had long been unhappy with Ho Qinchen. Ho Qinchen actually dared to save the person he wanted to kill? Wasn't this showing that he did not give him face? In the Ghost Talent Hall, all martial artists who did not give him face were cruelly killed. Gué twisted his neck and said, Yin-yang stage martial artist, I can use you to practice. Try out a spell that I have been practicing recently. Then, Gué rose from the ground and disappeared like a ghost. Chapter 363. Unscrupulous. Humph. A mid-primal core warrior dares to be so arrogant. Ho Qinchen seemed to have anticipated Gué sudden attack. He suddenly turned around, clenched his right hand into a fist, and collided with Gué fist. Bang! When the two fists collided, Ho Qinchen and Gué both took a few steps back. Ho Qinchen took 3 steps back, while Gué took 2.5 steps back. Gué had gained the upper hand with this one blow. Old man, who told you that a mid-primal core warrior can't be arrogant? Gué raised an eyebrow and laughed. Today, a mid-primal core warrior will not only be arrogant, but he will also kill you. Gué's lips curled up as he waved his hands. Buzz. As Gué's hands moved, a strong suction force appeared, and suddenly all the yuan qi in the room flew towards him. Seeing so much yuan qi flying towards him, Gué waved his left sleeve, and suddenly a green gas rushed out and merged with the yuan qi in front of him. Exploding corpse palm. As Gué growled, a palm imbued with powerful yuan qi and dark green gas separated from his hand and blasted towards Ho Qinchen. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The powerful palm flew through the air, creating a sizzling sound as it rubbed against the air. Moreover, as the palm neared Ho Chin, there was even a low muffled sound. Child's play. Faced with such a powerful palm, Ho Chin's expression did not change, and he also sent out a palm. Boom! The two palms collided, but what Ho Chin expected did not happen. Gui Er's palm turned into nothingness and dissipated into the air. What's going on? The sudden change made Ho Chin feel a little confused. Although he had said that Gui Er's palm was child's play, he knew in his heart that Gui Er's palm was extremely powerful. If he had not advanced to the early yin-yang stage, he would not have been confident that he could withstand this palm. Oh no! After a brief moment of confusion, Ho Chin's expression changed, and he could not help but retreat. This was because he saw the space in front of him wriggle, and then a palm appeared. This palm print was exactly the same as the one that Gui Er had just displayed. There was not the slightest difference. Bang! 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 Even though he retreated at full speed, Ho Chin still couldn't escape the palm print's pursuit. When he retreated to the edge of the room, the palm print caught up with him and ruthlessly struck his chest. Poochie! Ho Chin felt a sweet taste in his throat when the palm imprint struck his chest, and he spurted a mouthful of blood. You pfft! Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ho Chin was just about to speak when he spat out another mouthful of blood, and his face turned slightly pale. Old man, don't think that you're arrogant just because you're a yin-yang realm martial artist. Let me tell you, there's always someone better than you in this world. Gui Er shrugged and said, Forget it, I won't waste my breath with you. I'll give you two choices now. First, you kill yourself or I kill you. Gui Er paused for a moment before continuing. Second, submit to me and become my slave. You want me, a yin-yang realm martial artist, to be your slave? Ho Chin was furious. Old fart, it's your honor to be Master Gui's slave. Zhang Ze said coldly, Perhaps you don't know who this is. To tell you the truth, he's the peerless genius of the Ghost Talent Palace, Gui Er. Gui Her? Ho Chin hesitated as if he didn't hear it clearly. That's right, son of a tortoise. Tui, it's Gui Er, not son of a tortoise. Zhang Ze, leave first. Help me surround the city lord's mansion. Gui Er waved his hand and said, Without my permission, no one can enter. Yes, yes, I promise not to let a fly in. Zhang Ze hurriedly left the room. After Zhang Ze left, Gui Er said to Ho Chin, What's your decision? Do you choose the first or the second? What if I don't choose either? Ho Chin said in a deep voice. If you don't choose, you'll be challenging my authority. Gui Er smiled faintly and said, If you don't choose, then I'll choose for you. The second one. Trying to control me? Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? Ho Chin said angrily, Even if I self-destruct, I won't let you control me. In front of me, you don't even have the right to self-destruct. In the next moment, Gui Er rose from the ground and appeared in front of Ho Chin at an astonishing speed. Bang! Gui Er threw a punch, and it landed on Ho Chin's abdomen. The huge force from his abdomen made Ho Chin grimace in pain. He felt as if his internal organs were about to fall out. Old Ho! Yang Kuan shouted when he saw Ho Chin's miserable state. Stop screaming. No one will come even if you scream your throat out. Who? However, before Gui Er could finish his words, his expression changed drastically. A figure was thrown into the room from the outside and hit a chair. Crack! The wooden chair naturally couldn't withstand the weight of the figure and was crushed into pieces. Zhang Ze? Gui Er was slightly stunned when he saw the cultivator on the ground. He then shifted his gaze to the entrance of the room. There was a familiar figure there. Ningyu. Gui Er's face darkened when he saw Ningyu standing in front of the door and scathed. Gui Er's expression was gloomy, but at the same time, he was confused. One must know that the shockwave from the explosion was extremely powerful. Even he wasn't confident that he could withstand it. How did Ning Yu do it? He actually withstood the aftermath of the explosion and wasn't injured at all. Gui, how have you been? Ning Yu smiled as he slowly walked into the room. I admire your courage. Suddenly, Gui calmed down. He stared at Ning Yu and said, I wouldn't have been able to do anything to you if you ran away just now. But you're a fool to appear here. Since that's the case, I'll deal with you first. There's no need for me to deal with you, Ning Yu shrugged and said, Dark Emperor Hong Mo, I'll leave Gui to you too, whoosh. The Dark Emperor had long been annoyed by Gui. Wasn't he just the second-ranked genius of the Gui Kai Palace? He wasn't even the first-ranked genius. How could he be so arrogant? Moreover, Gui was only at the middle stage of the primal core stage. He was at the late stage of the primal core stage. Killing Gui would be a piece of cake. Hong Mo, leave Gui to me. You don't have to do anything, the Dark Emperor said. You've forgotten the pain now that your wound has healed. Ning Yu was instantly enraged by the Dark Emperor's words. He kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and said angrily, Against an enemy, one should be unscrupulous. Now that we have the advantage in numbers, we should be able to kill him 2-on-1. Fine, you and I, Hong Mo, let's work together and get rid of Gui as soon as possible to prevent any unforeseen event. Good. Young hero, well said. Against an enemy, one should be unscrupulous. Chapter 364. Death Spirit Chi Cold Light, Peerless Genius? He can also be considered a peerless genius. The Dark Emperor sneered. In my eyes, there is only the difference between a dead person and a living person. There is no difference between geniuses. Even a dead dog dares to be so arrogant. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Gui obviously didn't take Ning Yu's threat seriously. He took a step back and said, Today, I'll show you what a peerless genius of the Ghost Talent Palace is like. Voila! As soon as he finished speaking, Gui's toes touched the ground and he charged straight at Ho Qingchen. From Gui's point of view, Ho Qingchen was the weakest among all the martial artists present besides Yang Kuan and Zhang Zhe. After all, Ho Qingchen had already been heavily injured by him, and his current strength wasn't even a tenth of his peak. As the saying goes, if you want to defeat an enemy stronger than you must first attack the opponent's weakness. And Ho Qingchen was the weakest link among the four of Ning Yu's group. Overturning Cloud Palm. Ho Qingchen was indeed a yin-yang realm early-stage martial artist. Even though he had suffered a heavy injury, he was still able to react quickly. He threw out a backhand palm, colliding with Gui's palm print. Pa! The two palm prints collided and a muffled sound rang out. Ho Qingchen only felt a sweetness in his throat, and he forcefully swallowed it back down. Dark Emperor, attack! Ning Yu did not dare to hesitate. He immediately charged out with the red demon sword in his hand and fiercely stabbed at Gui. Dark Emperor, attack! Ha ha ha, it's finally time for me to show it. With a loud laugh, a pair of purple gold wings appeared on the Dark Emperor's back, and he shot toward Gui at an astonishing speed. The Dark Emperor had long advanced to the late primal core stage. Whether it was the density of the Yuan Qi in his body or his speed, he was slightly better than Gui. In fact, the Emperor of the Dark World was one step ahead of Ning Yu to appear beside Gui. With a flap of his purple gold wings, a violent cold light shot out towards Gui's chest. Purple gold sky devouring hound? The moment the wings appeared on the Dark Emperor's back, Gui discovered the Dark Emperor's true identity. He was the king of the sky-devouring dog clan, the purple gold sky-devouring dog. Not good. In the next moment, Gui quickly retreated, even using all his strength. However, it was too late for Gui to retreat at this moment. The Dark Emperor's attack had already arrived before him and struck his chest. The intense pain from his chest caused Gui to grit his teeth and spit out a mouthful of blood. Xiao! At that moment, Ningyu appeared behind Gui Er with the red demon sword in his hand. Before Gui Er could react, the red demon sword suddenly pierced through Gui Er's back, right into his heart. In that instant, time seemed to stand still. Puff! Ningyu quickly pulled the red demon sword out of Gui Er's body. However, Gui Er did not fall as Ningyu had expected. Instead, Gui Er slowly turned around. Gui Er grinned at Ningyu and said, "You forced me to do this. I didn't want to use this move at first, but since you want to die, don't blame me." As he spoke, Gui Er's eyes gradually changed from black to green, and finally to blood-red. His blood-red eyes, coupled with the powerful killing intent radiating from Gui Er's body, made him look like a god of death. "Gui Er, your heart is not on the left side." Suddenly, Ningyu thought of a possibility. Gui Er's heart was on the right side. No matter how powerful a martial artist was, if their heart had been pierced, they would not be able to look completely fine like Gui Er. "Don't you think it's a little too late to find out now?" The corners of Gui Er's mouth curled up as he opened his eyes. Suddenly, two cold rays of light shot out from his eyes, one towards Ningyu, the other towards the Dark Emperor. Chi. The two cold rays of light were extremely fast, and they contained violent waves of Yuan Qi and even a bit of Dead Spirit Qi. Dead Spirit Qi was a gas that was even more corrosive than Corpse In Qi. If a normal martial artist came into contact with it, they would rot to death if they did not deal with it in time. "Red Devil, take Yang Kuan and this old man out of the room first, and surround the room." Ning Yu's expression was solemn. He first instructed Red Devil in his mind, then said to the Dark Emperor, "Be careful, this is Dead Spirit Qi, do not let it touch you." "Don't worry, this Dead Spirit Qi can't do anything to me." Although that was what the Dark Emperor said, his expression was extremely solemn. It was obvious that he had heard of the power of Dead Spirit Qi. Woof! At the critical moment, the Dark Emperor roared into the sky, and a wave of energy shot out, colliding with the cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi. Solitaire. As for Ningyu, he waved the Red Devil sword and slashed out several waves of sword energy, which collided with the cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi. Pust. Gui Er's two cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi were extremely powerful, and the moment the Dark Emperor's roar came into contact with them, they turned into nothingness and dissipated. Comparatively speaking, Solitaire lasted a little longer, but it only lasted for 3 seconds before it was defeated. Then, the two cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi turned around and floated above Gui Er's fingertip. "Ha, you think I'm a sick cat if I don't show my power." Gui Er laughed as he gained the upper hand and said coldly, "Now that you've fallen into my hands, there's only one ending for you, and that is death. No, you have to die. This dog can live." Suddenly, Gui Er changed the topic and said to Ningyu, "These two cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi were originally meant for me to fight for the title of the #1 genius of the Ghost Talent Hall. It's your honor to die by his hands." I didn't expect Gui Er to be so powerful. Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, and he had a bad feeling about this. He was in the middle stage of the true martial realm, and his strength was comparable to a peak Yuan Dan martial artist, and he could even compete with an early-stage Yuan Dan martial artist. Gui Er was only a middle-stage Yuan Dan martial artist, and Ningyu thought that he could easily defeat or even kill him, but now it seemed that he was wrong. Gui Er's strength had already reached the peak of the early-stage Yin-Yang realm. Even if he joined forces with the Dark Emperor, it would be difficult for them to gain the upper hand. Ningyu knew that unless he could advance to the late stage of the true martial realm, it would be difficult to compete with Gui Er. It's not that Gui Er is strong, it's the two cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi in his hands that are tricky to deal with. The Dark Emperor sent a sound transmission to Ningyu. These two cold beams of Dead Spirit Qi are rather special, they are of good quality amongst the Dead Spirit Qi. Unless we think of a way to disperse these two cold beams of dead spirit chi, it will be very difficult for us to win. Easier said than done. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said in a deep voice, "If we really can't do it, we can only abandon the quenching fire cauldron." The quenching fire cauldron was ranked 50th on the Earth list of cauldrons, and its material was very special. Ningyu had an idea in his mind, and that was to open the quenching fire cauldron and draw the two cold rays of dead spirit chi in. As long as he could force the two cold rays of dead spirit chi into the quenching fire cauldron, Ningyu would have a way to refine the cold rays of dead spirit chi. Chapter 365. Mysterious Storage Pouch Guerrier, your two rays of dead spirit chi are only SOSO. Since he had decided to use the cauldron, Ningyu regained his composure. He looked at Guerrier and said calmly, "If the Dark Emperor and I can withstand their first attack, then we can withstand the second, third, and even countless times." "Hee, aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue?" Guerrier grinned. "Since you are so stubborn, then I will show you what I am capable of, so you know that there is always someone better than you out there." As soon as the word, "out there," fell, Guerrier pushed his hands forward, and two rays of dead spirit chi shot out from his fingertip. As if they had eyes of their own, they charged straight at Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. "Dark Emperor, quickly enter the storage ring." Ningyu knew that with the Dark Emperor's current strength, there was no way he could withstand the power of the rays of dead spirit chi, so he yelled, "Leave these two rays of dead spirit chi to me." Understood. The Dark Emperor was a heaven-devouring hound, and as soon as he heard Ningyu's words, he dove into the storage ring in a flash. "Oh, I didn't think your storage ring could store a person, looks like this trip was worth it." Seeing the Dark Emperor enter the storage ring, Guerrier was stunned for a moment, but then a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. A spatial ring that could store a person would have to be at least at the king rank. In fact, it might even surpass the king rank and reach the monarch rank. Guerrier was a little excited just thinking about it. "Guerrier, are you blind?" Ningyu completely ignored the two rays of dead spirit chi that were about to reach him. He raised an eyebrow. "The one that just entered the storage ring was not a person, it was your Grandpa Emperor. You're seeking death." Guerrier snorted, and then unleashed his late-stage 5th-grade soul force, along with the two rays of dead spirit chi, toward Ningyu. This is the moment. Seeing this, Ningyu's face lit up with joy, and he hurriedly threw out the red demon sword to meet Guerrier's soul force. The red demon sword was also a devouring flying sword. If it could even devour Sun Jiangwen's peak 7th-grade soul force, then what about Guerrier's late 5th-grade soul force? Therefore, the moment the red demon sword came into contact with Guerrier's advanced 5th-grade soul force, an extremely powerful devouring force erupted from it. In an instant, a tenth of Guerrier's soul force had been devoured. Devouring flying swords. The sudden change caused Guerrier's expression to change drastically. Without any time to think, he immediately retreated. However, Guerrier was still very excited as he retreated. It could be said that he was extremely excited. To be able to devour a tenth of his soul force in an instant, it was enough to show how special this red flying sword was. Coupled with the energy fluctuations emanating from the red flying sword, Guerrier's initial judgment was that it was at least a king rank. A martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm not only had a king rank storage ring, but also a king rank flying sword. Wouldn't it be too wasteful to just kill him like this? In Guerrier's opinion, no matter what, he had to capture Ningyu and force him to reveal his secrets. Cold dead spirit chi, come back! With this thought in mind, Guerrier flipped his wrist to recall the two cold dead spirit chi. Suddenly, Guerrier saw something that terrified him. Not far away, Ningyu was dragging a huge alchemy furnace in his hand. The lid of the alchemy furnace was opened, and under Guerrier's horrified gaze, the two cold dead spirit chi entered the alchemy furnace. "Bah! Then, Ningyu suddenly closed the alchemy furnace. My cold dead spirit chi? Ningyu's action caused Gui Air to be a little dumbfounded. With a thought, he tried to communicate with the cold dead spirit chi. However, what happened next completely stupefied him. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't communicate with the cold dead spirit chi. In other words, the cold dead spirit chi was already under Ningyu's control. Dark Emperor, come out! Ningyu shook the alchemy furnace in his hand and shouted in a low voice. Whoosh! Hearing this, the Dark Emperor flew out from the storage ring. Ningyu, can this alchemy furnace control the cold dead spirit chi? The Dark Emperor was still worried and asked in a low voice. Don't worry, although the alchemy furnace is not on the heaven ranking, its quality is not low. It can still trap the two cold dead spirit chi for a short period of time. Ningyu said. Good. If that's the case, I can rest assured. Without the cold dead spirit chi to worry about, the Dark Emperor was no longer worried. His figure flashed, and he quickly charged toward Gui Air. Solitaire. In order to get rid of Gui Air as soon as possible, Ningyu also joined the battle. Although Gui Air was the second genius in the Corpse Sex Ghost Talent Hall, his ranking was completely based on the cold dead spirit chi. Without the cold dead spirit chi, his strength would drop by at least half. In fact, there was no need for Ningyu to make a move. The Dark Emperor could get rid of Gui Air. But for safety's sake, Ningyu still held the Red Demon Sword and attacked Gui Air with the Dark Emperor. When the cold dead spirit chi was present, Gui Air could still hold the upper hand, but without the cold dead spirit chi, he was exposed. Gui Air only lasted for 15 minutes against Ningyu and the Dark Emperor before he was completely defeated. Ningyu did not plan to leave Gui Air alive. After defeating Gui Air, he mercilessly stabbed the Red Demon Sword into Gui Air's heart. This time, Ningyu used the Red Demon Sword's devouring power to completely devour Gui Air's Yuan Qi and Soul Force. Whoosh! After a while, Ningyu let out a long breath and slowly withdrew the Red Demon Sword from Gui Air's body. Ningyu, the higher-ups of the Corpse Sect are all in Ivory City. If you kill me, you won't be able to escape. Poochie. With that, Gui Air suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and his body fell backward. Bang! The sound of his body hitting the ground echoed in the room for a long time. After confirming that Gui Air was dead, Ningyu's tense nerves finally relaxed and he sat down on the chair behind him. As for the Dark Emperor, he lay on the ground and panted heavily. About 3 minutes later, Ningyu was the first to stand up from the ground. He went straight to Gui Air and reached out his hand to search Gui Air's body. After a while, Ningyu returned to the chair and sat down again. However, in his hand there was a storage bag and a token that represented his identity. Looking at the black token in his hand, Ningyu directly threw it into his storage ring. Then, Ningyu probed the storage bag with his soul force. Holy shit! As soon as his soul force entered the storage bag, Ningyu was stunned on the spot. It wasn't that there were too many Dharma treasures in the storage bag, but that the storage bag was empty. Shaking his head, Ningyu was about to throw the storage bag back into his storage ring. At this time, the Dark Emperor waved his paw and said weakly, "Give me the storage bag in your hand." You want this storage bag? Ningyu was surprised at first, then he threw the storage bag to the Dark Emperor. You can have as many storage bags as you want. Why care about this one? That's what you don't understand. Chapter 366. Many origin crystals. Could it be that there's something else in the storage bag? Seeing the Dark Emperor's actions, Ningyu was slightly taken aback and doubtful. He had checked the storage bag, but there was nothing inside. It was as clean as an airport. Could it be that the storage bag had changed after the Dark Emperor checked it? The Dark Emperor placed the storage bag in his hand and looked at it carefully. Then, he made an action that shocked Ningyu. He opened his mouth wide and swallowed the storage bag into his stomach. Swallowing the storage bag? Even if the Dark Emperor was the emperor of the heaven-swallowing dog clan, he couldn't be so arrogant, right? That was a storage bag, there was nothing inside. The Dark Emperor swallowing it was a completely thankless task. Just as Ningyu was feeling shocked, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth again and spat out the storage bag. Red? Looking at the red storage bag that had fallen to the ground, Ningyu's mouth was slightly agape, and he was extremely shocked. If he remembered correctly, the storage bag was still gray at the beginning. Why did it turn red after passing through the Dark Emperor's mouth? Ningyu, take a look at what's inside the storage bag. The Dark Emperor lazily laid on the ground and said. Ningyu hurriedly released his soul force and entered the storage bag. Dark Emperor, you're not playing with me, are you? Why is there still nothing? Ningyu delightedly probed the storage bag, but in the end, he found nothing. If we had known this would happen, we would have left the city lord's mansion as soon as possible. Ningyu was extremely speechless, and wished that he could kick the Dark Emperor's but a few more times. Nothing at all? That doesn't make sense. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor was also a little confused. He immediately stood up from the ground and snatched the storage bag from Ningyu's hand. Alright, I forgot that you're not very familiar with space. Slightly embarrassed, the Dark Emperor returned the storage bag to Ningyu and said, Use your soul force to stimulate a point in the storage bag, and then you will see a shocking scene. I hope that you won't disappoint me this time around, Ningyu said as he took the storage pouch from the Dark Emperor. F***ck. It would have been fine if he didn't look, but when he did, Ningyu was quite shocked. Crack! A crisp sound rang out, as if something in the storage bag had shattered. Then, Ningyu saw a shocking scene. The storage bag was filled with a large amount of yuan crystals, all of which were top-grade yuan crystals. It was to the extent that the pile at the very front was emitting a dazzling light. Obviously, it had already surpassed the limits of top-grade essence crystals and reached the quality of transcendent-grade essence crystals. Gulp! Ningyu could not help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. After scanning it with his soul force, Ningyu could basically confirm that there were a total of 10 million top-grade yuan crystals and 800,000 transcendent-grade yuan crystals. Originally, Ningyu was only left with a few hundred top-grade yuan crystals. Now that there were so many of them, he was indeed shocked. What's so good about those yuan crystals? Look behind them and see what's there. Just then, the Dark Emperor's voice rang in Ningyu's ears. Hearing this, Ningyu's soul force went around the pile of top-grade yuan crystals and came behind them. Red spirit fruit? Looking at the two red fruits lying behind the crystals, Ningyu's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. The red fruit was nothing else but a 7th-grade fruit, red spirit fruit. The red spirit fruit was the same as the exquisite fruit, a 7th-grade fruit. The only difference was that the red spirit fruit was a 7th-grade fruit, while the exquisite fruit was not considered the best among the 7th-grade fruits. Secondly, the red spirit fruit contained violent energy that could allow a Yuan Dan stage martial artist to unconditionally advance a stage. The main function of the exquisite fruit was to expand the cyclone. Since the red spirit fruit could allow a Yuan Dan stage martial artist to unconditionally advance a stage, then wouldn't he, who was in the middle stage of the true martial realm, be able to directly advance to the pinnacle of the true martial realm if he consumed it? Thinking of this, Ningyu revealed a fiery expression. But very quickly, Ningyu said to the Dark Emperor, "The red spirit fruit is a 7th-grade elixir. Aren't you jealous?" Ningyu knew the Dark Emperor best. With his personality, if there was no problem with the red spirit fruit, he would definitely be the first to swallow it. "Ningyu, am I such a person in your heart?" The Dark Emperor had a pained look. Ningyu came to the Dark Emperor's side and looked at him carefully for a minute. He then nodded and said solemnly, "You are not such a person in my heart. At least you have a conscience." The Dark Emperor said, "In my heart, you are scarier than such a person." Ningyu's next words made the Dark Emperor have the urge to vomit blood. Cut the crap. Hurry up and tell me what's wrong with the 2 red spirit fruit. Ningyu waved his hand and said. How heartbreaking. The Dark Emperor clutched his chest and revealed an extremely disappointed expression. Then, he said, there's nothing wrong with the red spirit fruit. The one with the problem is me. You have a problem? Ningyu was stunned and asked. Don't get angry if I tell you. The Dark Emperor's body gradually softened and he said, actually, there are more than 800,000 supreme grade yuan crystals in the storage bag. There are 1 million supreme grade yuan crystals. If that's the case. At this point, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something. His eyes widened and he couldn't help but exclaim, You swallowed the other 200,000 supreme grade yuan crystals? What's there to be surprised about? I just swallowed 200,000 supreme grade yuan crystals. At most, I'll return them to you in the future. All right. As he spoke, the Dark Emperor's eyes darkened and he fell to the ground. Dark Emperor! It wasn't that Ningyu didn't want the Dark Emperor to swallow the supreme grade yuan crystals. It was just that 200,000 supreme grade yuan crystals were simply too much. Given the Dark Emperor's late-stage primal core cultivation, swallowing so many yuan crystals might very well cause him to explode and die. Damn it! Cursing under his breath, Ningyu immediately came to the Dark Emperor's side and released his soul power to check on the Dark Emperor's body. 10 minutes later, Ningyu retracted his soul power from the Dark Emperor's body. With a slightly serious expression, Ningyu mumbled, Whether or not I can refine so many supreme grade yuan crystals will depend on the Dark Emperor's own luck. Luckily, the Dark Emperor was a purple-gold sky-devouring hound. Otherwise, he would have died a long time ago after swallowing 200,000 supreme grade yuan crystals. Even so, it was unknown whether or not the Dark Emperor could survive this ordeal. If he could, his cultivation level would naturally skyrocket, and he might even advance to the pinnacle of the primal core state or even half a step into the yin-yang state. If he couldn't, there would only be one result, and that was to disappear from this world. Sigh, Dark Emperor, when are you going to change your habit of blindly devouring things? Ningyu heaved a faint sigh as he controlled the storage ring to gradually expand. Then, a pillar of light flew out and enveloped the Dark Emperor, sucking him into the storage ring. After doing all this, Ningyu was slightly relieved. The Dark Emperor had been through life and death with him for such a long time, so he naturally didn't want anything to happen to the Dark Emperor. However, the Dark Emperor's situation was clearly out of his control, so he could only calm himself down and say to Hong Mo. Chapter 367. Near the Ivory Tower Schwa. Hong Mo, who was outside the room, was already itching to enter. He felt guilty for letting Ningyu and the Dark Emperor fight with Gui Er inside. Hearing Ningyu's voice, Hong Mo's figure flashed and entered the room. Xiao! Xiao! Soon after, Yang Kuan and Ho Qinchen also entered the room. Ningyu, you killed Gui Er? Entering the room, Yang Kuan saw Gui Er lying lifelessly on the ground. He was slightly startled and immediately said in surprise, Gui Er is a peerless genius of the Ghost Kai Hall of the Corpse sect, you actually, Yang Kuan. No one will think you are mute if you don't speak. Ho Qinchen coldly snorted and said, Ningyu's strength is not something you can figure out. Let me tell you, even if I was at my peak, I might not be his opponent. What? Yang Kuan was dumbfounded again. In his opinion, Ningyu was just a martial artist at the middle stage of the true martial realm. At best, he could only fight with a martial artist at the middle stage of the primal core realm. Ho Qinchen was the strongest martial artist in the City Lord Mansion. He was at the early stage of the yin-yang realm. From what he said, it seemed like he was not Ningyu's opponent. Ningyu, first of all, thank you for killing Gui Er. Ho Qinchen smiled at Ningyu and said, Let me introduce myself. My name is Ho Qinchen. If you don't mind, you can call me Old Ho. Old Ho Gue Er is from the corpse sect. If I didn't kill him, he would have killed me, Ningyu said with a shrug. In any case, you killed Gue Er and helped me a lot. I will remember this kindness. If there is anything I can use in the future, just say it. Ho Qingchen patted his chest and said, Right, Old Ho, quickly send someone to check around the ivory tower. Suddenly, Ningyu's complexion changed and said. Hearing Ningyu's words, coupled with Ningyu's expression, Ho Qingchen said, Is this important? Of course it's important. Ningyu solemnly said, The higher-ups of the corpse sect kidnapped a martial artist at the middle stage of the Yin-Yang realm. They said they would use that martial artist's self-detonation to blow up the entrance of the ivory tower. You don't have to worry about this. Not to mention the self-detonation of a middle Yin-Yang stage martial artist, even a late Yin-Yang stage martial artist won't be able to break the entrance of the ivory tower. Ho Qingchen said confidently. Old Ho, I have to remind you. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu said, The power of a Yin-Yang realm middle stage martial artist's self-destruction is not to be underestimated. Once the people of the corpse Yin sect control a Yin-Yang realm middle stage martial artist to self-destruct, the entire Ivory City will suffer. Ningyu was not a saint. The safety of the people in Ivory City had nothing to do with him. However, since he knew Yang Kuen's son, Yang Yu, he felt that it was necessary to remind Ho Qingchen and Yang Kuen. Before Ho Qingchen could say anything, Yang Kuen's expression changed drastically. He was the city lord of Ivory City. He couldn't bear the consequences of a middle Yin-Yang realm middle stage martial artist's self-destruction in Ivory City. I'll arrange someone to. Yang Kuen moved his feet and was about to leave the room. Rumble. However, before Yang Kuen could finish his words, his expression changed dramatically. Because an earth-shattering explosion sounded. Not good. Feeling the power of the explosion, Yang Kuen finally understood that what Ningyu said was true. It was really a middle Yin-Yang realm middle stage martial artist's self-destruction. No. Suddenly, Ho Qingchen released his perception. After a moment, he shook his head and said, The aftermath of the explosion didn't spread. It should be controlled by someone near the ivory tower. Ningyu raised his eyebrows and released his perception. After a while, he took a deep breath and said, That's right. I don't know who has the courage to resist the self-destruction of a middle Yin-Yang realm middle stage martial artist. How about we go and have a look? Ho Qingchen hesitated. We can go there, but we can't just go there like this. We need to make some preparations. After thinking for a while, Ningyu said, Wait for me. I'll contact someone. Then, Ningyu closed his eyes and began to communicate with Sun Jiangwen. Sun Jiangwen had been controlled by Ningyu, so Ho Qingchen and Yang Kuen didn't know the conversation between Ningyu and him. Sun Jiangwen, what's the situation at the ivory tower? Ningyu communicated with Sun Jiangwen through the soul power in Sun Jiangwen's sea of consciousness. We're trapped in the ivory square, and the situation is very critical. Hearing Ningyu's words, Sun Jiangwen was shocked and didn't dare to be negligent. Trapped in the ivory square? Ningyu was stunned at first, then he said, Tell me the details. The middle Yin-Yang realm middle stage martial artist's self-destruction didn't break the entrance of the ivory tower. Sun Jiangwen took a deep breath and said slowly. It turned out that Tu Zhan's self-destruction had only caused the door of the ivory tower to shake a little. Moreover, the door only shook for a while before it stabilized. Just when the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest were about to leave, several rays of cold light shot out from the ivory tower and enveloped the entire ivory square. Therefore, the aftermath of Tu Zhan's self-destruction didn't spread in all directions, but only circulated inside the ivory square. Fortunately, the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest had joined forces to set up a protective shield. Otherwise, Tu Zhan's self-destruction alone would have caused them to suffer heavy injuries. Even so, The Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest had expended too much energy and were currently recuperating with all their might. They are recuperating? After listening to Sun Jiangwen's story, Ningyu rolled his eyes and came up with a bold idea. Since the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest had expended too much energy, why not take this opportunity to catch them all? Very soon, Ningyu dismissed this idea. At this moment, the Dark Emperor was digesting the supreme grade origin crystals in the storage ring. Ho Qingchen wasn't in his peak condition, and his own strength was limited. It was unrealistic to think that he could catch the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest in one go. Sun Jiangwen, according to your estimation, when can you leave the Ivory Square? Ningyu asked in a deep voice. After hesitating for a moment, Sun Jiangwen said, if there is no accident, we can break the barrier around the Ivory Square in 6 hours and leave Ivory City. 6 hours, huh? Ningyu was lost in thought. If there were no accidents, the people from the capital would arrive in 6 hours. At that time, it would be difficult for the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest to leave. After a moment, Ningyu gritted his teeth and said, Old Ho, let's go to the Ivory Square to have a look. Didn't you say that the higher-ups of the Corpse Een sect are near the Ivory Tower? Won't we be discovered if we go there? Ho Qingchen asked. Don't worry, we will only watch from a distance and won't attract their attention. Ningyu said in a deep voice. Good. Since you said so, I will accompany you. Ho Qingchen said. There's no time to lose, let's set off as soon as possible. Ningyu stepped on the ground and instantly left the city lord's mansion and flew toward the Ivory Square. Behind him, the Red Devil Ho Qingchen and Yang Kuan also increased their speed and followed closely. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A moment later, the four of them landed in a corner outside the Ivory Square. Ningyu, find a way to get close to the Ivory Tower. I will give you a great fortune. Chapter 368. A Great Fortune, Near the Ivory Tower? Ningyu was slightly startled. His mouth opened slightly in shock. Who are you? I haven't seen you for more than a month, and you can't even recognize my voice? If I hadn't helped you with what you did in the Ivory Space, you would have been captured by those old monsters for research. The mysterious voice once again sounded in Ningyu's ears. What I did in the Ivory Space? I know, you're the senior on the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower. Ningyu was a little stunned at first, but then his eyes widened in surprise. Back in the Ivory Space, Ningyu and the Red Devil had unscrupulously absorbed the vitality inside. If it weren't for the time limit, they would have absorbed all the vitality inside the Ivory Space. Even so, Ningyu and the others had absorbed more than half of the vitality inside the Ivory Space. At first, Ningyu thought that he had done it secretly, but now it seemed that he was a little naive. Senior, you want to give me a fortuitous encounter? Ningyu tried to play dumb and asked hesitantly. See, I forgot about the important matter. The mysterious voice continued. Do you want to be a hero? I don't want to, Ningyu replied without any hesitation. F***ck, this kid doesn't know what's good for him. There were 4 figures on the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower. If Ningyu was here, he would have found that he knew all 4 martial artists. One was the White Phantom he first met when he entered the Ivory Tower, the Golden Lion King, and the black-robed martial artist on the 9th floor of the Ivory Tower. The last one was the gray-robed old man who had just spoken to him on the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower. The Golden Lion King was furious after hearing Ningyu's words. This is a blessing that he has cultivated for 8 lifetimes, but he doesn't know how to cherish it. Golden Lion, don't say anything. The White Phantom next to him said, Ningyu is doing this wisely. Do you think it's so easy to be a hero? He's playing it safe. He's very smart. Self-preservation? Jean sure still couldn't understand and asked doubtfully. That's right, it is indeed self-preservation. The black-robed cultivator said. After not seeing him for a month, not only has Ningyu's cultivation improved, but his brain has also become much smarter. Compared to the White Shadow and the others, the gray-robed elder was much calmer. He frowned and said, "The three of you are responsible for maintaining the barrier. No matter what, don't let the 5 palace masters of the corpse sect leave the ivory square." Understood. Hearing this, the White Shadow and the others did not stay any longer. Their figures flashed as they left the 10th floor of the ivory tower. At this moment, only the gray-robed old man was left on the 10th floor of the ivory tower. He's indeed the descendant of an old friend. I'll let him have this opportunity. Anyway, this ivory tower won't last much longer. Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, the gray-clothed old man suddenly stretched out his palm, and he tore open a rift in the space before him before walking directly into it. As soon as the gray-robed elder stepped into the spatial crack, Ningyu felt the space around him tremble slightly. What's going on? As a yin-yang realm early-stage martial artist, Ho Qingchen was still relatively sensitive to space. The moment the surrounding space trembled, he noticed some clues. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, just as Ho Qingchen wanted to probe with his perception, 3 cold lights shot out from the rift in a row. One was aimed at Ho Qingchen, one was aimed at Yang Kuan, and the last one was aimed at Hong Mo. Immediately afterward, Ho Qingchen and Yang Kuan felt their vision go black, and they lost consciousness. As for Hong Mo, when the cold light was about to hit him, his body turned illusory and directly turned into an afterimage, drilling into the red demon's sword. Buzz! Moreover, Hong Mo controlled the red demon's sword and clashed head-on with the cold light. After the blow, the red demon's sword was pushed back several meters before it stabilized. Spirit body? Looking at the red flying sword floating in front of him, the gray-robed elder appeared from the void. His eyes widened as he said incredulously, "It's actually a spirit body, and it's the spirit body of a king-grade flying sword. Senior." In fact, when the cold light shot out, Ningyu had already determined that it was a martial artist from the 10th floor of Ivory City. Because he was very familiar with this aura. Sure enough, the moment he saw the gray-robed elder, Ningyu's expression became dignified, and he asked, "What matter requires you to personally come out? Don't talk nonsense, I'll make it short." The gray-robed old man obviously didn't want to stay here for too long. He went straight to the point and said, "I came here because I have 2 things to tell you. First, with my current strength, I'm not strong enough to kill the 5 corpse sect branchmasters in the Ivory Square. They will definitely escape. However, although they can escape, they will definitely be seriously injured and will only be able to display the strength of the true martial realm for a short period of time. I will leave a mark on them, and you can use the mark to find where they are staying." At this point, the gray-robed elder paused for a moment and then continued, "You only have 3 days. In other words, after 3 days their strength will recover and you must leave. Otherwise, the situation will be very bad for you." Ningyu's heart skipped a beat and he asked, "Senior, the good fortune you said you would give me, is it this?" Shaking his head, the gray-robed elder said, "Of course not, the good fortune I will give you is 100 times better than this. Xiao." Then, the gray-robed elder waved his sleeve, and suddenly a small square pagoda was thrown towards Ningyu. "Pa." Catching the square pagoda firmly, Ningyu said, "Senior, it is what the corpse insect is fighting for." The gray-robed elder said. Hearing this, Ningyu's eyes widened and his mouth opened wide, revealing a look of disbelief. "Yes, it is a magic treasure that can slow down the passage of time, the Time Square Pagoda," the gray-robed elder said in a deep voice. "Now I will leave it with you for safekeeping. You must remember, before your cultivation reaches the yin-yang stage, do not use it, because it is not something you can control." "Senior, I will take good care of it, but where can I find you?" Ningyu said solemnly. "You should also have a token to enter the Sky Tower. We will meet again at the Sky Tower." With that, the gray-robed elder's figure gradually became illusory, and in the end, he completely disappeared. However, after the gray-robed elder disappeared, a voice sounded in Ning Yu's ear. The Times Square Pagoda will guide you to the Corpse Insects Branch Hall Master. What you need to do now is to leave the Ivory Square as soon as possible and evacuate as many cultivators as possible. Hearing the gray-robed elder's words, Ning Yu's heart trembled, and he hurriedly turned his head. He saw the ivory tower faintly shaking, and the barrier around the Ivory Square was constantly shrinking. At this speed, the barrier would shrink to a certain limit in at most 2 hours. Chapter 369. Search One's House, Io. After the gray-clothed old man vanished, Ho Chinchin was the first to wake up. He rubbed his swollen head, looked left and right, and asked in confusion, "Ning Yu, do you know what just happened?" "I don't know. My head is still hurting." In order not to cause trouble, Ning Yu pretended to be unconscious the moment before Ho Chinchin woke up. When Ho Chinchin woke up, Ning Yu also woke up. "You don't know what's going on either?" Ho Chinchin frowned and said, "What about the man in red? F***ck. At that moment, Yang Kuan woke up and couldn't help but curse. "Elder Ho, look." Ning Yu didn't want to explain too much about this matter. He pointed his palm forward and said, "The barrier around Ivory Square is shrinking." "What?" Upon hearing Ning Yu's words, Ho Chinchin's expression changed greatly. He couldn't be bothered to ask why he had fainted, and he exclaimed, "Yang Kuan, quickly evacuate the residents around Ivory Square, the faster the better." Ho Chinchin was indeed worthy of being an initial stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. He saw through the problem at first glance. Although it would take 2 hours for the barrier to reach the Corpse Insects Branch Hall Master, it would be too late to evacuate the residents by then. "Elder Ho, why?" Unlike Ho Chinchin, Yang Kuan did not understand. "Idiot. If I'm not wrong, when the barrier reaches them, the battle will break out." Ho Chinchin kicked Yang Kuan and said angrily, "I'll give you 2 hours. After 2 hours, I don't want to see any residents within a radius of a few miles with Ivory Plaza as the center." At this point, Yang Kuan finally understood. Not daring to delay, he immediately rose from the ground and rushed toward the city lord's mansion. With his strength alone, it was impossible for him to complete the task given to him by Ho Chinchin. He needed to go to the city lord's mansion to call for help and a large number of people to help him. "Ning Yu, what are we doing now?" Not long after Yang Kuan left, Ho Chinchin asked. "Search the house." With these 2 words, Ning Yu rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage as he flew straight into the distance. "Search the house?" Ho Chinchin was slightly stunned, but he didn't hesitate and still followed closely behind Ning Yu. Whoosh, whoosh. On the streets of Ivory City, 2 figures, one in front and one behind, moved extremely fast and disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. "Did anyone pass through here?" "Someone did pass through here, but I didn't see it clearly." "You are a martial artist at the peak of the true martial realm, but even you couldn't see it clearly. Doesn't that mean that martial artist just now is at the Yuan Dan realm?" "It's hard to say. If I'm not wrong, it should be a primal core pinnacle martial artist. Peak primal core stage." When the surrounding martial artists heard this, there was an uproar. Ivory City might be a major city in the Great Xia Kingdom, but martial artists who were at the peak stage of the origin core realm rarely appeared on the street. Could it be that something big was going to happen in Ivory City this time, that there was a peak primal core practitioner roaming the streets? So fast. Ho Chinchin didn't know that everyone was shocked. If he knew, he would just laugh it off, because he was even more shocked than everyone else. With his early yin-yang stage cultivation, he could only follow behind Ning Yu and not catch up with Ning Yu. If he was this fast when he was at the middle stage of the true martial realm, what would he be like when he advanced to the Inyang stage? He is indeed a core disciple of the sacred college of Danwu College. This level of talent is really enviable. Ho Qingchen shook his head to dispel the thoughts in his mind and sped up. Not long after, they stopped in front of a luxurious building. Looking at the luxurious building in front of him, Ho Qingchen was stunned at first. Ningyu, this is the Zhang family. Before Ho Qingchen could finish his sentence, Ningyu waved his hand and interrupted him. The Zhang family is here. Have you forgotten Zhang Zhe, who is by Gui Er's side? Zhang Zhe? Hearing Ningyu's words, Ho Qingchen was stunned and then said coldly, If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. He has turned to Gui Er. Let's go in and have a look, maybe there will be a surprise. Twisting his neck, Ningyu took the lead and walked toward the front door of the Zhang family. What are you doing? However, when Ningyu arrived at the door of the Zhang family, he was stopped by two servants who were guarding the door. One of the servants, who was at the middle stage of the true martial realm, was very arrogant and said proudly, This is the Zhang family, if you know what's good for you, get out of here, or else you will have to bear the consequences. Wang Er, don't talk nonsense with him. After today, the whole Ivory City will belong to the Zhang family. The other servant, who was at the middle stage of the true martial realm, laughed and swaggered toward Ningyu. Looking at the servant approaching him, Ningyu simply stopped, cupped his fists, and looked at him with interest. Oh, you are very arrogant, boy. Today, I will let you taste. Ouch. While speaking, the servant clenched his right fist and directly punched toward Ningyu. Gotcha. However, what he expected did not happen. Instead, Ningyu grabbed his wrist, and with a little force, directly broke his wrist. The intense pain from his wrist caused the manservant to let out a blood-curdling screech like a pig being slaughtered. Zhao Hu. Seeing Zhao Hu's miserable condition, Wang Er's face suddenly became gloomy and he said angrily, Boy, you injured Zhao Hu, leave one hand. Noisy. The reason why Ningyu did not rush into the Zhang family was because he sensed two auras not weaker than Ho Qingchen. The owner of the aura was at least at the early stage of the Inyang realm, and it was even possible that he had reached the peak of the early stage of the Inyang realm. Ho Qingchen had just advanced to the early stage of the Inyang realm, and he was seriously injured. His current strength was only between the peak of the primal core realm and half a step to the Inyang realm. This kind of strength was very disadvantageous for breaking into the Zhang family. Poof! Since he was already here, Ningyu did not intend to go back. He flicked his sleeves and suddenly, a cold light swept out. Under Wang Er's horrified gaze, it continued to expand, and finally stabbed into Wang Er's chest. Bang! Compared to Zhao Hu, Wang Er was much more unlucky, because he was killed by Ningyu in a single blow and died on the spot. Zhao Hu only lost his right hand. Who dares to be so arrogant in the Zhang family? At this moment, a loud shout sounded from the courtyard of the Zhang family. The voice was extremely powerful, and there was a little essence chi fluctuation in it, blasting toward Ningyu. Humph! Feeling this super strong essence chi fluctuation, Ho Qingchen snorted coldly, took a step forward, and blocked in front of Ningyu. Then, the aura of his whole body emerged, helping Ningyu to resist this super strong essence chi wave. I was wondering who it was. So it's the City Lord's Mansion's monkey. After the blow, an old man in brown flew out from the courtyard of the Zhang family. The old man was about 70 years old, and his hair was white. Chapter 370. Zhang Bin what? The strongest person in the City Lord's Mansion has advanced to the Inyang realm? It should be true. The Zhang family's old ancestor has advanced to the Inyang realm a long time ago. His words can't be false. There's another Inyang realm martial artist in Ivory City. This is a big deal for the city lord's mansion. They need to invite experts from all over. Invite experts from all over? I'm afraid Ho Chinchin won't live past today. Won't live past today? That's impossible. Who can kill Ho Chinchin, who is in the Yinyang realm? The Zhang family's old ancestor, Zhang Bin. In this world, there had always been more people watching the show. When Ningyu killed Wang Er, many martial artists surrounded him. Their purpose was simple. They wanted to watch the show. Zhang Bin, you despicable bastard. If it weren't for you, I would have advanced to the Yinyang realm a year ago. Ho Qingqian's face instantly darkened when he heard the words of the Zhang clan's ancestor, Zhang Bin, and he said in a cold voice, "Let me ask you, were Zhang Zai's actions instructed by you?" Zhang Bin's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. Zhang Zai had followed Gui Er to the city lord's mansion under his instruction. Although Ho Qingqian wasn't in his peak condition, he was still standing here. Could it be that Gui Er failed and Zhang Zai was killed? Thinking of this, Zhang Bin's face became completely gloomy. He said coldly, "Ho Qingqian, I don't know what you're talking about. Today you trespassed into the Zhang family. I must teach you a lesson." Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Bin rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage and appeared beside Ho Qingqian in a flash. Immediately after, his fist brought along an extremely violent origin chi and fiercely smashed towards Ho Qingqian's head. This punch was so powerful that if Ho Qingqian was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Damn it! At the critical moment, Ho Qingqian cursed inwardly. The essence chi in his sea of consciousness wrapped around his wrist, and with a backhand punch, it collided with Zhang Bin's fist. Crack! A crisp sound rang in the area when the two fists collided. Ho Qingqian only felt a sweetness in his throat. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. His originally weak aura became even weaker. Zhang Bin, you've actually reached the peak of early Yinyang realm. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ho Qingqian said in a low voice, "You were only at the initial stage of Yinyang realm a month ago. It's basically impossible for you to advance to the pinnacle of the initial stage of Yinyang realm in a month." Haha, Ho Qingqian, who said that it's impossible for me to advance to the peak of early Yinyang realm in a month. With a smile, Zhang Bin said, "Let's not talk about Yinyang initial stage. Let me put it this way. I'll be able to advance to Yinyang middle stage in a week." Hua! Zhang Bin's words caused an uproar in the surroundings. Middle Yinyang realm? In Ivory City, an early-stage Yinyang realm martial artist was already very powerful. They had never seen a middle-stage Yinyang realm martial artist. Humph! Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Before Ho Qingqian could speak, Ningyu snorted, "You have a hidden illness in your body. If you don't get rid of it, you can forget about advancing to the middle stage of Yinyang realm in your lifetime." Hidden illness? What kind of illness does Zhang Bin have? I don't know. Who is this young man? How did he know that Zhang Bin has a hidden illness? He's Ningyu, the core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College. Ivory City was a big city with a relatively fast population flow. It was not surprising that someone knew Ningyu, the core disciple of Danwu College. I heard that the Zhang family also has a genius who entered Danwu College. I think his name is Zhang Tianwen. Your information is too outdated. Zhang Tianwen is from the Zhang family in the capital. He has nothing to do with the Zhang family in Ivory City. I see. The surrounding martial artists' discussion made Zhang Bin's face a little ugly. As a dignified early-stage Yinyang realm martial artist, he was actually said by Ningyu to have a hidden illness? This was really intolerable. Uncle couldn't stand it either. Even his uncle couldn't stand it. Ningyu, don't think that just because you are a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College, I dare not do anything to you. Zhang Bin had never put Ningyu in his eyes. From the first time he saw Ningyu until now. Every full moon night you will feel a pain in your abdomen. Ignoring Zhang Bin's threat, Ningyu continued, it used to be once a month. But since last month, the pain in your abdomen has become more and more serious, even once a week. Recently, the pain in your abdomen will occur once a day. You! A mouthful of nonsense. Zhang Bin's eyes flickered as he said coldly. I know how to remove your hidden illness. Ningyu laughed. Humph. A mere middle-stage true martial realm martial artist wants to judge my illness? Zhang Bin said coldly. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Forget it. Today you broke into the Zhang family first. Even if I kill you, Danwu College will not say anything. As soon as his voice fell, Zhang Bin instantly rushed out. Since he had advanced to the early stage yin-yang realm, Zhang Bin's speed was very fast. He was so fast that no one could see his figure except for Ning Yu and Ho Qingchen. Ho Qingchen could see Zhang Bin's figure because he was also a yin-yang realm martial artist. Naturally, he could see it, but it was a little blurry. And Ning Yu could see it because of the strength of his 5th grade middle stage soul power. Solitaire. Facing Zhang Bin, who was constantly approaching him, Ning Yu's pupils shrank and his body quickly retreated. In the process of retreating, Ning Yu did not know when the red demon sword appeared in his hand and he quickly waved it. Swish, swish, swish. With a low shout from Ning Yu's mouth, 3 consecutive sword waves appeared in the air and floated in front of Ning Yu. As soon as the solitaire was formed, Zhang Bin arrived at Ning Yu's side. The next moment, under the exclamation of the crowd, Zhang Bin's fist smashed toward Ning Yu's head. To deal with Ning Yu, Zhang Bin did not use his full strength. He only used 50% of his strength. In his opinion, Ning Yu was only a true martial realm middle-stage martial artist. He had already thought highly of Ning Yu by making a move. Even if Ning Yu died in his hands, he could still be proud of it. Just a few sword waves. The corner of Zhang Bin's mouth rose, and his fist collided with the solitaire in front of Ning Yu. Chi chi chi. 3 consecutive crisp sounds resounded, and then Zhang Bin's fist arrived in front of Ning Yu's head. It was only 10 centimeters away from Ning Yu's forehead. Red Demon, quickly attack! At the critical moment, Ning Yu shouted in a low voice. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Zhang Bin was a little stunned. The fist in his hand stopped for a second. However, it was this second that allowed Ning Yu to withdraw from Zhang Bin's attack range. Swish! Chapter 371. Chapter 371. Blood Feud, damn it! The sudden change caused Zhang Bin's expression to change drastically. With no time to think, he immediately stomped on the ground and quickly retreated. However, he had clearly underestimated the Red Demon Sword's speed. He had just retreated 2 to 3 meters when the Red Demon Sword appeared in front of him. At the critical moment, Zhang Bin's Yuan Qi burst out and turned into a Yuan Qi light sword. It collided with the Red Demon Sword. Qi. The moment the two collided, Zhang Bin's Yuan Qi light sword turned into nothingness and dissipated between heaven and earth. Although the Yuan Qi light sword could not withstand the Red Demon Sword's powerful attack, it bought Zhang Bin time to increase the distance between him and the Red Demon Sword. Humph! Ning Yu, this flying sword is mine. Zhang Bin snorted and pointed his right hand forward. Crack crack! A few cracking sounds rang out, and then cracks appeared in the void around the Red Demon Sword. Space manipulation. Ning Yu's expression turned cold and he growled, Red Demon, come back! Swoosh! The Red Demon was not a fool. Zhang Bin, who was at the peak of the early stage yin-yang realm, could already control space slightly. It was not wise to fight him head-on. Therefore, the Red Demon controlled the Red Demon Sword and instantly appeared beside Ning Yu. Crack! As soon as the Red Demon arrived at Ning Yu's side, a small whirlpool suddenly appeared in the space where he had been, and the surrounding space constantly collapsed. Looking at the slightly collapsed space, the red demon took a deep breath. If he had not listened to Ning Yu and retreated, he would have likely fallen into space. However, the red demon was a little puzzled. Zhang Bin was only at the peak of the early stage yin-yang realm. Why was he so adept at space manipulation? Even a late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist might not be as adept at space manipulation as he was. Could it be that Zhang Bin was pretending to be weak and his true cultivation was far beyond the early-stage yin-yang realm? Zhang Bin is indeed at the early-stage yin-yang realm. Ning Yu said in a low voice, "It's just that he has a treasure that can control space. Its rank should be," at this point, Ning Yu paused and then said with a solemn expression, "It has reached the king rank." "A king-grade magic treasure?" Hearing this, Hong Mo's heart skipped a beat. His face was filled with disbelief. A king-rank magic treasure that could control space was extremely rare, and it was even rarer than a devour magic treasure. Currently, Ning Yu had a broken soul sword that specialized in devouring soul energy. He also had a red demon sword that could devour both soul energy and vitality. Even so, he didn't have a magic treasure that could control space. "Ning Yu, I admit that you are strong, even stronger than the average primal core stage warrior." At this moment, Zhang Bin shouted in a low voice, "But your cultivation is just at the middle stage of the true martial realm. I can crush you as easily as crushing an ant." Zhang Bin, who doesn't know how to brag. Ning Yu smiled faintly and said, "If what you said is true, then why am I still standing here unscathed? Why didn't that strike kill me just now? Don't tell me that you only used 50%, no, only 10% of your strength." "You." Hearing Ning Yu's words, Zhang Bin was so angry that his chest was moving up and down, and his face was livid. As the ancestor of the Zhang family, no one dared to speak to him like this except for the higher-ups of the Corpse Yin sect. Moreover, it was in front of so many people. Glancing at the door of the Zhang family's house, Ning Yu shrugged and said, "Zhang Bin, I advise you to call out the hidden yin-yang stage warrior of the Zhang family. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died." "What? There is another yin-yang stage warrior in the Zhang family?" "Impossible, the Zhang family only has one yin-yang stage warrior, and that is the ancestor of the Zhang family, Zhang Bin." "That's right, the second strongest warrior of the Zhang family is only at the late stage of the primal core stage, not even at the peak of the primal core stage." Could it be that Ning Yu is lying? The Zhang family was the tyrant of Ivory City. Relying on the strength of the family, they often bullied other families. Of course, the families that were bullied by the Zhang family did not dare to say anything. Now that they saw someone killing in front of the Zhang family's door, they naturally wanted to watch. Therefore, more and more warriors gathered in front of the Zhang family's door, and in the end, the Zhang family was completely surrounded. Little friend Ning Yu is right, the Zhang family does have another yin-yang stage warrior. While the crowd was talking, an old man slowly walked out of the crowd and stood in front of Ning Yu. The old man pointed at Zhang Bin and scolded, "The other yin-yang stage warrior of the Zhang family is not from the Zhang family. The Sun family's grand elder, Sun Xing." "Sun Xing? What is he doing here? You don't even know this?" Some time ago, the Sun family's ancestor was killed, and various signs indicate that the killer of the Sun family's ancestor was Zhang Puqi. Before the warrior finished speaking, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes were wide open as his body fell straight backward. With a plop, the warrior died on the spot. This is what happens to people who spread rumors. After killing the warrior with one blow, Zhang Bin said coldly, "The death of the Sun family's ancestor has nothing to do with the Zhang family. I will say it here, anyone who maliciously slandered the Zhang family will end up the same as him." Voila! Zhang Bin's strong performance caused an uproar at the scene. Everyone stared blankly at the martial artist who was killed by Zhang Bin in one move. They were somewhat dumbfounded. Isn't Zhang Bin too strong? The other party hasn't finished speaking yet. How can he know that the other party is referring to the Zhang family? After a short silence, everyone turned their eyes to the Sun family's grand elder, Sun Xing. They wanted to see if Sun Xing would back down in the face of difficulties or continue speaking. Zhang Bin, I'm not scared. At first, Sun Xing's eyes flickered, but in the end, he gritted his teeth and said, if you have the guts, let the Zhang family's yin-yang stage warrior come out. I will confront him face to face. Before coming, Sun Xing had already met Yang Kuan. Moreover, he learned from Yang Kuan that the Sun family's patriarch, Sun Xinjian, was brutally killed by a Yin Corpse sect martial artist. First, the family's ancestor was killed, and then the patriarch was killed. Sun Xing definitely couldn't bear it. What if he couldn't bear it? *CK him. What the martial artist said just now was right. All the signs indicated that the Zhang family and the Yin Corpse sect had joined forces, and the one who killed the Sun family's ancestor was a yin-yang stage martial artist in the Zhang family's courtyard. Confront him face to face? You think you are qualified? Zhang Bin sneered. Zhang Bin, I know what you are worried about. Ningyu took a step forward and said with a slight fluctuation of yuan qi, the yin-yang stage martial artist in the Zhang family's courtyard is a member of the Yin Corpse sect. Yin Corpse sect? The Zhang family colluded with the Yin Corpse sect? That's too scary. It's hard to say. The Zhang family has risen very fast recently, and the younger generation of the family has already dominated Ivory City. Maybe what Ningyu said is right. Shoo. You still dare to say it? Aren't you afraid that Zhang Bin will kill you? Humph. Why wouldn't I dare to say it? I am a member of the Sun family, and now the Sun family and the Zhang family are irreconcilable. Swish. 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 Just as everyone was discussing, suddenly countless figures flew from afar and landed steadily in front of the Zhang family's gate. Seeing the sudden appearance of these figures, Zhang Bin's complexion became very ugly. This was because the lowest cultivation level of these martial artists was at the early primal core stage, and there were even 2 or 3 at the peak primal core stage. Chapter 372. Breaking into the Zhang family, what are they doing here? Could it be that Sun Clan's great elder Sun Xing called him over? It's hard to say. I've seen a few of them before. They are the elders of the second-rate clans in Ivory City, and their cultivation is around the middle primal core stage. The ancestor of a second-rate family? Take a closer look. The 3 old men in the lead are the patriarchs of the Zhang and Sun families in Ivory City. Their cultivation levels are at the peak of the primal core stage. What? Even they are here? Is Ivory City going to be cleansed? After a brief silence, the crowd burst into exclamations. Many cultivators stared at the figures that had suddenly appeared, their faces filled with shock. Over the years, the strong performance of the Zhang family had left a deep impression in their hearts. Now, a large number of warriors had joined forces to oppose the Zhang family. It had to be said that this was a great shock to them. All right. Very good, very good. At this time, Zhang Bin calmed down. He waved his hand and said in a deep voice, Since you're so naive, I'll show you the true strength of the Zhang family today. Swish, 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 swish. Just as Zhang Bin's voice faded, several figures flew out from the Zhang clan's courtyard and appeared in front of the Zhang clan's gate in the blink of an eye. Seeing the sudden appearance of these cultivators, the crowd once again exclaimed in surprise. Because these martial artists were not weak. They could be described as terrifying. 2 peak-stage primal core, 4 late-stage primal core, 8 mid-stage primal core, and 10 early-stage primal core. Just the Zhang family alone had 24 primal core adepts, which was even more than the other clans combined. Am I seeing things? Seeing the formidable strength of the Zhang clan, A true martial realm primary stage martial artist rubbed his eyes and said in a daze, "Are you seeing things? These warriors are all from the Zhang clan." Another martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm was also very shocked, but he did not lose his mind and said in a deep voice, "In addition to the 24 origin core stage martial artists, the Zhang family still has no less than 50 true martial realm martial artists." 50. Hearing this, everyone shot their gazes towards the Zhang clan's courtyard. If one didn't take a look, one wouldn't know, but the moment one did, he was shocked. 40 to 50 martial artists lined up neatly in the courtyard of the Zhang family. "Old Ho, what should we do now?" The terrifying strength of the Zhang family had clearly exceeded Sun Xing's expectations. He got closer to Ho Qingchen and whispered, "The power in the middle can contend with the Zhang family, but Zhang Bin and the other Yin-Yang realm martial artists are not easy to deal with." In fact, Ho Qingchen had already realized the severity of the problem when the Zhang family's experts appeared. Although Sun Xing and the patriarchs of the other families weren't a match for the Yin-Yang realm cultivators, they could at least stall one of them. As for the other Yin-Yang martial artist, he and Ning Yu would work together to deal with him. The sudden emergence of so many experts from the Zhang family had completely disrupted their plans. He couldn't help but look at Ning Yu. "Old Ho, find a way to stall Zhang Bin. I'm going to enter the Zhang family and force that Yin-Yang realm martial artist out myself." Ning Yu's expression was solemn. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and dashed forward. "Xiao!" Ning Yu's speed was very fast, so fast that besides Ho Qingchen and Zhang Bin, no one else could react. "Where are you going?" Ho Qingchen was indeed a peak early Yin-Yang realm martial artist. The moment Ning Yu dashed forward, he gathered all the Yuan Qi in his body to his wrist and punched at Ning Yu's chest. What is Zhang Bin doing? Why is he punching the air? Could he have lost his mind? How is that possible? Zhang Bin is a Yin-Yang realm martial artist. He shouldn't have lost his mind. No. Look at Ning Yu. Following this exclamation, everyone was surprised to find that Ning Yu's figure was gradually becoming illusory. Very quickly, Ning Yu appeared in front of Zhang Bin. An afterimage. It's an afterimage. Ning Yu's speed is so fast. He's just a middle-stage martial artist. Even an early primal core stage martial artist like me couldn't see any clues. Early primal core stage? I, a middle primal core stage martial artist, don't even know when Ning Yu disappeared. At first, everyone was just exclaiming, but in the end they were all numb. This was because, in the face of Zhang Bin's powerful attack, Ning Yu did not retreat. Instead, a violent wave of Yuan Qi appeared on his palm, and a backhand punch collided with Zhang Bin's fist. Bang! The two collided and a low sound rang out. Immediately, Ning Yu and Zhang Bin both took a few steps back. Zhang Bin took 3 steps back, and as for Ning Yu, he took more than 10 steps back before he could stabilize his body. With this blow, it was clear who was stronger. "Zhang Bin, thank you for lending me a hand." Ning Yu first smiled at Zhang Bin, then said to Ho Qingchen, "Ho Qingchen, stop Zhang Bin and buy me half an hour." "Understood." Hearing Ning Yu's words, Ho Qingchen gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Sun Xing, leave 2 peak primal core stage martial artists. The rest will deal with the Zhang family's martial artists with you." Swoosh! As his voice fell, Ho Qingchen took a step forward, and the Yuan Qi in his body burst out. He was the first to rush toward Zhang Bin. "Lu family head, Fang family head, you two and Ho Qingchen will deal with Zhang Bin together. The rest follow me." Sun Xing's face was cold as he joined the battle. "Damn it!" Zhang Bin cursed in his heart. His face was extremely ugly. He did not expect Ning Yu to be so cunning as to use this method to enter the Zhang family. Right now, the Yin-Yang stage martial artist from the corpse sect was refining elixirs, and he was at a critical moment. If he was disturbed, the refining of elixirs would fail, and the worst case would be qi deviation. Therefore, no matter what, he had to stop Ningyu. Boom! In front of the Zhang family's gate, the martial artists from both sides finally fought because of Ningyu. The fuse of this battle, Ningyu, had already entered the Zhang family's courtyard. Trespassers of the Zhang family, kill. As soon as Ningyu entered the Zhang family's courtyard, he was besieged by 50 true martial realm martial artists. Red Devil, kill. Ningyu casually threw out the Red Devil sword and held the soul-severing sword in his hand as he shouted. Relatively speaking, Ningyu preferred to use the soul-severing sword. After all, he had used the soul-severing sword for a long time and was more comfortable with it. Unless he was dealing with a peak Yuan Dan or Yin Yang stage martial artist, Ningyu did not want to use the Red Devil sword. Since Ningyu used the soul-severing sword, the Red Devil naturally had complete control of the Red Devil sword. He transformed into his human form and held the Red Devil sword in his hand as he charged left and right among the true martial realm martial artists. With every thrust of the Red Devil's sword, a true martial realm martial artist of the Zhang family was killed. Ningyu, these martial artists are strange. While attacking, the Red Devil said, I also noticed that they are very dull, as if they are controlled by the spirit pill. Ningyu was also very puzzled. These true martial realm martial artists had very weak self-awareness and basically relied on their physical strength to fight their enemies. This kind of performance was similar to a martial artist who had taken a spirit pill. Could it be that the corpse sect has developed a new type of spirit pill? And it can be mass-produced? Thinking of this, Ningyu's face became completely gloomy. Chapter 373. Chapter 373. The Alchemist Spang. After knocking a true martial realm martial artist back, Ningyu said in a low voice, Hong Mo, ignore them. Hurry up and find the Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Let's split up. Whoever finds him first, inform the other party. Got it. Hong Mo's face was also very solemn. He nodded heavily and immediately slashed out a shocking sword ray, forcing all the true martial realm martial artists in front of him to retreat. Then, Hong Mo flew towards the west. Swoosh. As for Ningyu, he ran in the opposite direction of Hong Mo and flashed in another direction. The reason why Ningyu wanted to enter the Zhang family was because he had just contacted Sun Jiangwen. From Sun Jiangwen, he found out that the Zhang family's Yin-Yang realm martial artist was an alchemist. Although his alchemy level was not as good as Sun Jiangwen's, it was still at the advanced stage of the 7th grade. Furthermore, Sun Jiangwen told him that the Zhang family's advanced stage 7th grade alchemist was refining a special kind of elixir. As for what elixir it was, Sun Jiangwen did not know because the Zhang family's advanced stage 7th grade alchemist was directly under the command of the alchemist hall master. The Zhang family was very big and there were many restrictions set up inside. These restrictions were all aimed at soul power, so Ningyu did not dare to use too much of his soul power. He could only use it 3 meters away from his body. Relatively speaking, Hong Mo did not have these restrictions. He was a spiritual body, and what he used was not soul power. Therefore, the Zhang family's soul power restriction did not have any effect on him. Crack. 10 minutes later, Hong Mo landed in front of a luxurious room. Ning. Feeling the strong aura emanating from the room, Hong Mo wanted to communicate with Ningyu. However, before he could say anything, he forcefully swallowed it back down his throat. Although the aura emanating from the room was stronger, Hong Mo could tell that the martial artist in the room had not reached the Yin-Yang realm. At most, he was at the peak of the primal core realm. With Hong Mo's strength, he was not afraid of a peak of the primal core realm martial artist. Therefore, Hong Mo dismissed the idea of informing Ningyu. Taking a deep breath, Hong Mo stabbed out with his sword. Suddenly, a strong sword ray appeared and blasted towards the door. Inside the room, Link was refining pills. In order to break through the ivory tower, the alchemist hall sent out a total of 3 alchemists. Peak 7th grade alchemist, Sun Jiangwen, late 7th grade alchemist, Su Jinfu, middle 7th grade alchemist, Link. In this plan, the 3 of them had different roles, but they were equally important. Sun Jiangwen was in charge of refining the body explosion pill. The body explosion pill was the key pill to blow up the entrance of the ivory tower. Su Jinfu was in charge of refining the inner demon pill to control the higher-ups of Ivory City. Link, on the other hand, was in charge of refining the improved spirit pill, a level 5 spirit pill. The elixir consumed by the dozens of true martial realm martial artists outside was the 5th grade nether pill refined by Link. With Link's status as a mid-level level 7 alchemist, he could basically mass-produce level 5 soul pills. The entire room was filled with hundreds of jade bottles of various sizes, and each jade bottle contained more than 10 nether spirit pills. I've refined a total of 180 bottles of 5th grade dark spirit pills, and I still need the last 20. Not good. After concocting another batch of spirit pills, Link glanced at the jade bottles around him. Just as he was about to relax, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly retreated. Kacha! Boom! Not long after Link retreated, he heard a cracking sound, and then a sword blasted towards the place where he had just been, directly causing the ground to cave in. Hiss! Such a powerful attack caused Link to suck in a breath of cold air. At the same time, he was very glad that if he had not retreated in time, he would have been smashed into meat paste. Damn it! What the hell is Zhang Bin doing? Link's first thought was not to fight with the Red Devil, but to curse Zhang Bin. With Link's soul perception, he could naturally vaguely determine that the Red Devil was in the late primal core stage. The late primal core stage was not enough to pose a fatal threat to him. The only thing that surprised Link was the red flying sword in the Red Devil's hand. From the red flying sword, he felt a strong and terrifying aura. King-level flying sword. Almost instantly, Link judged that the Red Devil's level had reached the King level. The King-level flying sword was enough to make Link attach great importance to it. I have to say you are very brave, very brave. Link's expression was solemn, and he said in a low voice, "Give me the flying sword in your hand, and I can spare your life. Have you lost your mind?" The Red Devil seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. The corners of his mouth curled up and he said coldly, "With your peak primal core stage cultivation, you want to kill me? Whether I can kill you or not, I will only know after I try." With a cold snort, Link suddenly flicked his sleeves, and in an instant, a cold light shot out towards the Red Devil. Facing the cold light that was coming towards him, the Red Devil waved the flying sword in his hand, and the sword light scattered in all directions, instantly shattering the cold light that Link had thrown out. Swoosh! After the attack, the Red Devil did not retreat, but instead moved forward, controlling the Red Devil sword to attack Link. Haha! Link laughed evilly, and immediately, the mid-stage 7th grade soul power in his body poured out, unscrupulously suppressing the Red Devil. It seems that I have wronged Zhang Bin. If it were not for him, I would not have gotten this king-level flying sword. Link seemed to see the king-level flying sword waving at him, and his face was already full of smiles. The next moment, Link's smile froze on his face, and he even revealed a look of horror. "Thank you for your soul power." The Red Devil raised his eyebrows and controlled the Red Devil sword to erupt with a strong suction force. Under Link's horrified expression, the sword frantically swallowed his soul power. "Damn it!" Link cursed under his breath, and with a thought, he quickly withdrew the rest of his soul power. However, his reaction was obviously half a beat too slow, causing a third of the mid-stage 7th grade soul power to be swallowed. The strength of the mid-stage 7th grade soul power is not bad. Sticking out his tongue and licking his lips, the Red Devil planned to tell Ningyu this good news. Right now, Ningyu's soul power was at the mid-stage 5th grade soul power. If he could completely devour the soul power of the warrior in front of him, he could at least advance to the late-stage 5th grade soul power, or even the peak of 5th grade soul power. In any case, the warrior in front of him was from the Een Corpse sect, so it would be a waste not to devour his soul power. A devouring flying sword. This flying sword is actually a devouring flying sword. Link's heart was bleeding. Due to his carelessness, he had instantly lost a third of his soul power. He made up his mind that no matter what, he must obtain this red flying sword. You have completely angered me. There is only one ending for those who anger me. Taking a step back, Link waved his hand and put the jade bottle on the ground into his storage bag. Then, he coldly said, "That is death." The moment the word death fell, Link raised his speed to the limit and rushed towards the Red Devil. How can you be my opponent after losing a third of your soul power? Originally, the Red Devil wanted to tell this news to Ningyu, but now he changed his mind. He planned to first kill the warrior in front of him and then devour his soul power. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.